Chapter 3280. Zhou Nua said straightforwardly, Lord God, Lord of 10 directions, there is no need to be so polite. As long as this one is able to do so, I will definitely do my best to help Lord. Then this one will thank you in advance. God Lord Fong suddenly revealed an evil smile. Blood-red light shot out of God Lord of 10 directions' eyes, instantly transforming into 9 blood tombs that trapped the 9 Daozu experts that Zhou Nua had recruited. Then, the 9 Daozu experts were unable to resist at all. They were quickly engulfed by the blood tombs, and not even their bones were left. In the end, they turned into 9 beams of blood-red light that drilled into the glabella of God Lord of 10 directions' evil corpse. My lord, what is the meaning of this? Zhou Nua did not expect God Lord of 10 directions to suddenly attack, and he was both shocked and stunned. The other Daozu experts also did not expect God Lord of 10 directions to be so temperamental. They were all scared out of their wits. This one has been shackled for so many years, and breaking the seal has consumed a lot of my energy. I need to recover, and I also need some puppet. Junior Tensei people, since you want to help this one, you might as well help me to the end. God Lord of 10 directions smiled coldly. Then, blood-red light shot out of his eyes again. 9 more blood tombs appeared, trapping the 9 Daozu experts within. The other Daozu experts were all frightened out of their wit. However, under the pressure of God Lord of 10 directions' evil corpse, even space-time was sealed. None of them could escape. 10 directions God Lord Fong attacked 4 times in a row. He only stopped when 36 Daozu experts were engulfed. The remaining 40-odd Daozu experts were like prisoners on death row who had just been pardoned. They felt as if they had just taken a trip back from the brink of death. These mighty Daozu experts were so scared that their bodies were drenched in sweat. Only Zhou Nua and the remaining 4 Tensei people experts were faring slightly better. No matter how evil and arrogant God Lord of 10 directions was, he did not dare to offend the Tensei people. Next, it is time to exterminate the human race. First, I need to find Su Fong. God Lord 10 directions no longer paid any attention to these foreign experts and sent out his sensory energy. Although the Divine Lord of 10 directions hadn't truly reached the immortal level, he had unparalleled strength that was no weaker than an immortal level expert. By fusing his sensing power with the heavenly Tao, he could instantly envelop the Jiuxuan God domain within his sensing range. The result surprised God Lord 10 directions. Zhou Nua paid attention to God Lord of 10 directions' expression and asked in surprise, "Could it be that Your Excellency can't find Su Fong? He must have escaped into the Thunder Lake original realm. That's why you can't sense his presence." Luai's original realm? Su Fong actually obtained the Luai's original realm? The Divine Lord of 10 directions was startled, but soon after, his eyes burned with evil flames. That good corpse truly deserves to die. He actually gave the Thunder Lake original realm to Su Fong. Su Fong only passed the first 5 trials. He didn't truly obtain the Luai's origin realm, Zhou Nua hurriedly explained. He still didn't know that Su Fong had already completed the 6th Heavens test and had become the young lord of the Luai's original realm. 10 directions God Lord 10 directions snorted. That Su Fong only has his current achievements because he obtained my inheritance. Do you think he can surpass me? Back then, even when my 3 corpses were still alive, I didn't dare to rashly enter the Luai's original realm to take the test. Yet, he tried in vain to obtain the Luai's original realm. Sooner or later, only death awaits him. Nua's body trembled. He had failed the Luai's original realm's 5th Heavens test, which meant that he would be obliterated by the Luai's original realm's consciousness. How could he not be afraid? Suddenly God Lord of 10 directions raised an eyebrow and continued, not only can I not sense Su Fong's presence, but most of the humans in the Jiuxuan divine realm have also disappeared, save for a few cultivators, mortals, and a few big goblin. Could it be that Su Fong transferred them all to the Luai's original realm? Nua said with certainty, "That's impossible. The Luai's original realms test is extremely difficult. Su Fang couldn't have passed the sixth heavens test in such a short time, nor could he have transferred all of the humans to the Luai's original realm. It's highly likely that he brought the humans to another spacetime in the primal chaos. No matter where they go, they won't be able to escape from my grasp. Wait until I capture those Daozu cultivators in the human world and search their souls. It won't be difficult to find out the whereabouts of the humans. God Lord of 10 Directions' expression turned gloomy after he finished his deduction. He let out a cold and embarrassed voice. Then, his figure flashed and he directly flew into the sky. Huff, the foreign race experts who were lucky enough to survive, all heaved a long sigh of relief. Too terrifying! Too terrifying! In front of God Lord of 10 Directions, these Daozu experts were like weak chickens. They could only wait to be slaughtered. They had completely lost their will and courage to resist. Young King Zhou Nua, this trip to the human world was indeed dangerous. However, it was still as you wished. Don't go back on your promise, the Daomo Daozu said worriedly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. All the foreign race Daozu recruited looked at Zhou Nua. They had been scared out of their wits just now. They only hoped to quickly obtain the benefits and leave the human world. Zhou Nua smiled embarrassedly and said with certainty, "Don't worry. I won't shortchange you of the benefits I promised you." However, a thunderous sound suddenly resounded in the sky. Tight. Lightning surged and quickly condensed into a heavenly gate. A figure stepped on the lightning and walked out of the heavenly gate. Su Fang. Zhou Nua was surprised at first. Then, he clenched his teeth. The more than 40 Daozu experts also became nervous. All of them were trembling. However, on second thought, the God Lord of 10 Directions had already broken free from his shackles. As long as he sensed Su Fang's existence, he could rush over in an instant. Therefore, although these Daozu experts were not strong enough to fight against Su Fang, they could at least delay him for a while. However, Su Fang couldn't even protect himself by the time the God Lord of 10 Directions arrived. How could he care about them? With this thought, their courage was bolstered. Zhou Nua was also fearless. He looked at Su Fang and smirked. Su Fang, you never imagined that I would help the God Lord of 10 Directions break out of his seal, did you? Su Fang looked down at the foreign race cultivators as if he was looking at a group of ants about to die. Then, he said indifferently to Zhou Nua, "So what if the God Lord of 10 Directions breaks out of his seal? The God Lord of 10 Directions will kill you and all the humans. So what if you beat me in the Thunder Lake Original Realm's 5th Heaven trial? Let's see who will have the last laugh." Zhou Nua laughed in delight. Su Fang smiled casually. "Is that so? But the one who will have the last laugh will definitely not be you." Zhou Nua chuckled and mocked. "Su Fang, you're still so arrogant even now. I really don't know where your confidence comes from. Zhou Nua, you've been attacking the Western Mystery Mountain for so many years. With my strength, I should have sensed it a long time ago, but I never stopped you. Do you know why?" Su Fang looked at Zhou Nua as if he was looking at someone who was about to die. His eyes were filled with disdain, sympathy, and endless mockery. Zhou Nua snorted. "Why?" Su Fang said indifferently, "The reason is very simple. I want to borrow your hand to release the God Lord of 10 Directions from his seal. I don't need to do it myself and waste my energy." The smile on Zhou Nua's face froze. Then, he laughed involuntarily. "If the God Lord of 10 Directions breaks out of his seal, it means that you and the human race will face a calamity of destruction. Now, you're saying that you want the God Lord of 10 Directions to come out. Isn't this extremely laughable? That was then and this is now. In the past, I was indeed afraid that the God Lord of 10 Directions would break out of his seal and bring disaster to the human race. As for now, the human race has been moved to the Thunder Lake Original Realm by me. I no longer have any worries. I also want the God Lord of 10 Directions to come out and fight him to the death. I want to use him to test my strength." Zhou Nua cried out involuntarily. Impossible! You! How did you pass the Thunder Lake Original Realm's 6th Heavens test in such a short time? To me, Su Fang, nothing is impossible. I killed hundreds of millions of cultivators from the 12 races and countless experts from the Heaven Origin race. I used the blood of hundreds of millions of cultivators to dye the Supreme Battle Flag red. I passed the 6th Heavens test. Now, I am the Thunder Lake Original Realm's young master. Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. He waved his hand and a battle flag appeared. It floated in the air and released an astonishing aura of war and slaughter. It formed a battlefield of slaughter and shackled Zhou Nua and all the experts of the other races. Zhou Nua felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body swayed and he staggered. His face instantly turned pale. However, he was unwilling to give up. Since you passed the 6th Heavens test, Realm Spirit should have already killed me. Why am I still alive? If you die, the Tensei people will personally come to the human world. That is not a situation I want. It is precisely because you are still useful that I asked Realm Spirit not to kill you for the time being. Besides, watching you jump around like a clown? Isn't it very interesting? A clown? Zhou Nua's body trembled. What else could he be if he was not a clown? He thought. He couldn't. He never thought that he would be played like a monkey by Su Fang. Su Fang continued, Zhou Nua, apart from the fact that you're from the Eternal Clan, you have status, you have a backer, and you have a bit of talent, but in my eyes, you're nothing. I've never treated you as an opponent because you're not worthy. The meaning of your existence is to be a stepping stone for me. I will step on you to help me reach the peak of the Great Tao. Su Fang. Zhou Nua let out a roar of grief and indignation. Then, there was the sound of something shattering in the void where his heart was. It was his Tao heart. After suffering such a heavy blow, it could no longer bear it. At this moment, his will collapsed, and his Tao heart also shattered. Now that you have no value, it is time for you to die. Lord Realm Spirit, kill him. Su Fang said coldly. Zhou Nua's physical body, Tao Palace, and his soul origin began to shatter layer by layer. From the moment he entered the Luai's original realm and accepted the Luai's original realms test, the Luai's original realms will had planted an imprint in his body and in his fate. Test. The result of failing the test was death. Even immortal experts could not save him. No. Chapter 3281. Kill our way out. The alien Daozu knew that they had no choice but to fight with their lives on the line. They unleashed their strongest abilities and activated their most powerful Xian Bao. They even burned everything they had in an attempt to break free from the Sovereign War Banner's shackles. Only the 4 Tensei people below ignored their injuries and began to burn themselves as they charged towards Su Fang. What's the point of fighting like cornered beasts? Suppress them all. Su Fang's murderous intent enveloped all the alien Daozu with the divine might of the Sovereign War Banner and attacked their Tao hearts and wills. From countless wills rushed out from the Supreme Battle Flag, and the tragic cries of killing filled the entire battlefield. The Tao hearts of the alien Daozu were shaken and their wills began to crumble. The 4 Tensei people Daozu who were charging towards Su Fang trembled under the impact of Su Fang's will and found it difficult to even protect themselves, let alone kill Su Fang. Clang. Back at the Imperial Divine Palace, when these alien Daozu had fled with Zhou Nua when Su Fang had appeared, some of them were still unconvinced and thought that with so many Daozu present, they might be able to fight Su Fang and even kill him. Straight. Only now did they realize how laughable their previous thoughts were. In front of Su Fang, they had no way of resisting. It was no different from when they had faced the evil corpse of the 10 Directions Divine Lord. Whoosh! The life lantern appeared on the battlefield. Life lantern! One of the alien Daozu cried out in despair. Su Fangda, please spare our lives. Another alien Daozu cried out and begged Su Fang for mercy. Apart from the 4 Tensei people Daozu, the other alien Daozu had all been recruited by Zhou Nua. Now that Zhou Nua was dead, they wouldn't even be able to keep their lives, let alone obtain any benefits. Naturally, they weren't willing to continue fighting and begged Su Fang. Also only Daozu and the other 5 Daozu pinnacle powerhouses of the Xianma clan were still fighting with all their might. Pa. Chang the longevity lamp flickered 4 times in a row, and the souls of the 4 Tensei people, Daozu, were immediately separated from their bodies and refined into lamp oil. Forget it, I am also willing to accept the shackles and submit. The Daozu of the Xianma race had no choice but to give up resisting. The other 5 Daozu pinnacle beings had no choice but to give up as well. Submit? Su Fang's gaze was like lightning as it swept across the Daozu powerhouse of the Xianma clan. Afterwards, he let out a voice as cold and emotionless as the way of the heavens. I can spare the lives of others, but I can't spare you. The strong warrior of the Xianma clan was surprised and shouted angrily, Why? Su Fang said indifferently, If I want you to die, why should I give you a reason? The strong warrior of the Xianma clan had dealt a fatal blow to the Shi Xian Daozu. How could Su Fang let him go? However, with Su Fang's current strength, was there a need for him to explain anything? The flame of the longevity lamp flickered, and a flame swept up the Daozu of the Xianma clan with a whoosh. It started to strip his soul origin. The Daozu of the Xianma clan was still unwilling to give up, and he threatened Su Fang loudly. Su Fang, my teacher is an immortal of the Xianma clan. If you kill me, you will be hunted down by immortal powerhouses. Su Fang, why would Fang care about his threat? Chang the longevity lamp's power stripped the soul of the strong warrior of the Xianma clan and sent it flying toward the longevity lamp. Pa! The flame of the longevity lamp flickered and swept up the soul. It burned with a sizzling sound, and it quickly turned into pure soul energy. Chang the more than 40 strong warriors of the other clans trembled with fear when they saw what had happened to the Daozu of the Xianma clan. At that moment, in the hearts of these strong warriors of the other clans, Su Fang was the same as the 10 Directions God Master. They were both temperamental and evil beings. Since you want to submit, why don't you kneel down, open your soul, and accept my shackles? Su Fang was like the embodiment of the heavenly Tao, and he could decide the life and death of all living beings. A total of 42 Daozu of the other clans scrambled to kneel down before Su Fang. Su Fang stripped the soul energy of the longevity lamp, condensed it into a seal seed, and directly injected it into the souls of the strong warriors of the other clans. Just like that, Su Fang subdued another 42 strong warriors of the Daozu clan. Although most of these Daozu of the other clans were not as strong as the 7 Daozu of the 12 clans that Su Fang had subdued, they were still extraordinary and surpassed most human Daozu. Now that they had all become Su Fang's slaves, Su Fang's overall strength, and even the strength of the entire human race, had greatly increased yet again. He absorbed all 40 Daozu of the other clans into the Dao Palace, then moved them into the internal space of the Xian Huang avatar. The reason he had placed these Daozu of the other clans inside the Xian Huang avatar was because Su Fang was about to face an unprecedented battle. Su Fang looked into the distance, his eyes surging with a strong desire to fight. He was planning to directly challenge the evil corpse of the 10 Directions God Master and completely settle all his karma and grudges. East Xuantian Pavilion. East. The Xian Daozu had led all the cultivators of Xiantian Pavilion, as well as most of the cultivators and mortals of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain, to the Luai's original realm. The Eastern Xiantian Pavilion was empty, but there were still many cultivators inside. Cultivators from all over occupied the various dojos on the various planets, and a foul atmosphere filled the air. Inside the cave abode where the Dongxin Daozu had once cultivated, 3 human Daozu were drinking and chatting at the peak of a mountain. The 3 human Daozu were unwilling to go to the Luai's original realm, but they had gathered all the remaining cultivators in the human world and occupied the eastern Xiantian pavilion. There's a saying among mortals that it's better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. If we go to the Luai's original realm, we'll have to give in to Su Fang's whims, and we might even lose our lives. How can we compare to staying in the human world and being the sovereign of the human race? An old man with a goatee stroked his beard and laughed proudly. He opened his mouth and drank the fine wine in the cup in front of him. A red-haired old man snorted. That Su Fang is clearly ambitious. He wants to become the sovereign of the human race, so he's using the Divine Lord of 10 Directions and the other races to scare the human cultivators and move them all to the Luai's original realm. What's laughable is that those Daozu experts actually believed him without a doubt. Even the Dongxian Daozu and Tian Su of the Destiny platform were fooled. Once we reach the Luai's original realm, we'll all become slaves under Su Fang's control. Outside, a middle-aged man with a square face sighed gravely. The two of you shouldn't be careless. If the Divine Lord of 10 Directions breaks the seal and the other races come back, we'll be doomed. I think it'd be better for us to escape into the depths of the primal chaos as soon as possible and find a powerful race to rely on. The old man with a goatee snorted disdainfully. You're a little too cowardly. That Divine Lord of 10 Directions lured the other races to attack the human world because he wanted to take revenge for being hunted down by the upper echelons of the human race. We didn't participate in the pursuit of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions back then. Even if he breaks the seal of the Western Mystery Mountain, he can't do anything to us. The red-haired old man also laughed. As for the Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the other 12 races, they're all disasters that Su Fang has brought to the human race. They want to take revenge on Su Fang. What does that have to do with us? The middle-aged man with a martial face finally relaxed. He grabbed his wine cup and laughed heartily. Come, let's drink to this. Whoosh! A blood-red light filled with a deathly aura penetrated through the layers of barriers and descended into the cavern, enveloping the 3 human Daozu within. Not only the 3 human Daozu, but the blood-red light also covered the entire interior of Heaven Pavilion, turning it into a tomb that buried everything. In the eastern profound Heaven Pavilion, all the cultivators were shackled. Their lives and souls began to disappear in the blood-red light. They didn't even have time to scream before they quickly turned into white bones. Very quickly, the white bones also began to decay and eventually turned into ashes. This cultivators could have migrated to the Thunderlock original realm. Not only would they have been able to preserve their lives, but their future cultivation achievements would also have reached a higher level in the Thunderlock original realm. However, because of their own stupidity, all of them had died here. The 3 human Daofathers couldn't escape the same fate. Trapped in the blood-red light, their hearts were filled with despair and endless regret. It was better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. This saying was indeed true. Only unfortunately, in the end, not only did they not become the head of a chicken, they didn't even have a single feather left. It's the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. He actually broke through the seal of the Western Profound Mountain. Divine Lord of 10 Directions, we didn't chase after you back then. The culprits were the Dongxian Daozu, Tian Su, and the others. Please let us go. The 3 Daozu trembled as they begged for mercy, begging the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. This Divine Lord of 10 Directions wants to exterminate the human race without leaving a single one behind so that I can reach the peak of the Great Tao. Do you think this Divine Lord of 10 Directions will let you go? The Divine Lord of 10 Directions' voice was filled with the aura of death as it reverberated through the mountain peak. The 3 Daozu experts were in complete despair. Unexpectedly, the Divine Lord of 10 Directions suddenly changed the topic and asked, however, this Divine Lord will give you a glimmer of hope. The 3 Daozu of the human race immediately became spirited and asked in unison, please enlighten us, Divine Lord. Where did Su Fang, those human Daozu experts, and so many other human cultivators escape to? The Divine Lord of 10 Directions asked indifferently. Divine Lord, Su Fong obtained the inheritance of the Thunderlock original realm and became the young lord of the Thunderlock original realm. He moved all the humans to the Thunderlock original realm. We didn't want to be controlled by Su Fong, so we stayed in the human world. It seems like this Divine Lord of 10 Directions was not wrong. Who would have thought that Su Fong really obtained the inheritance of the Thunderlock original realm? That insignificant ant-like cultivator from back then has now become a major figure. Amazing, truly amazing. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions sighed faintly. Then, he said to the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, "This Divine Lord will not kill you. Instead, I will bestow upon you a great fortune, allowing you to possess strength beyond your imagination." Many thanks, Divine Lord of 10 Directions. The 3 Daozu heaved a sigh of relief. As long as they could survive this time, they were willing to become the Divine Lord of 10 Directions slaves, who knew reality was much crueler than they had imagined. Chi, chi, chi. After 10 breaths, the 3 Daozu turned into 3 men on fire, their bodies burning with chi, chi. Chapter 3282. Letting you all become the guardians of my heavenly tomb is also a supreme fortune for you all. As the God Lord of 10 Directions' evil laughter echoed, a blood-red light swept the 3 Daozu away from the cave abode. Heaven outside the pavilion, 10 God Lord Fong's evil corpse stood with his hands behind his back. Look. In the void, the God Lord of 10 Directions' blood-red eyes seemed to be able to see through some shackles and see the ethereal heavenly Tao. Su Fong, it's you who spoiled my plans again. If I don't exterminate the human race, I won't be able to prove my Tao and become a true immortal. Now you've moved all the humans to the Thunder Lake original realm, making my Tao hopeless. How can I forgive you? I don't believe that you can stay in the Thunder Lake original realm forever. 10 God Lord Fong muttered to himself coldly. Whoosh. 10. God Lord Fong looked up at the sky, disbelief in his eyes. Tight. Then a voice echoed in the void. God Lord of 10 Directions, I'll be waiting for you outside the chaos. Do you dare to fight me? Impossible. Impossible. He never would have thought. Just now. He was just thinking about how to capture Su Fong, enter the Thunder Lake original realm, and then kill all the humans to prove his Tao. Now, Su Fong actually challenged the God Lord of 10 Directions to a life-and-death battle in the chaos. How could the God Lord of 10 Directions not be surprised? It seems that you've obtained the inheritance of the Thunder Lake original realm, so you think you can challenge me. Haha. Although I haven't truly reached the peak of the Tao, I have the supreme strength to fight an immortal. How can an ant like you challenge me? The God Lord of 10 Directions chuckled, stepped into the void, and disappeared from the sky above the heaven pavilion. Domain outside the chaos. It was cold and silent. There was nothing. This figure floated in the chaos, his aura empty, as if he had become one with the chaos. His eyes were calm like an ancient well without ripples. His entire body was like an airflow without any aura, quietly waiting in the chaos. In less than 10 days, the primal chaos in the area suddenly rolled to the sides like wave. An evil aura surged out from within, and then a figure calmly walked out. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. 10 God Master Fong's evil corpse had finally arrived. It stopped less than 100 zhang away from Su Fong. 10 Divine Lord Fong's divine light swept over. Su Fong, I didn't expect you to not hide in the Thunderlock original realm and to take the initiative to challenge me. This is truly out of my expectations. This evil will viciously and fiercely attacked Su Fong. Su Fong's robe fluttered, but his body remained unmoving. The God Lord of 10 Directions tried to use his will to attack Su Fong's Tao heart, but Su Fong easily dispelled it. The corner of Su Fong's lips curled up. For the good corpse of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, for my master Shi Xian Daozu, and for the human race, how can my Tao heart be at peace if I don't kill you? Kill me? The evil corpse of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions laughed. his eyes full of disdain and contempt. You probably weren't even born when my might shook the human world. Everything you have comes from the Jiuquan limitless scripture that I passed down to the human world. You think you can kill me? What you say is the truth, but so what? I, Su Fang, might have been born in a low-level universe, but I've stepped on the corpses of countless experts and surpassed countless pinnacles. What's so impossible about surpassing you now? You can be considered my successor. Fine, I don't want to kill you with my own hands. As long as you submit to me and help me achieve eternal immortality, not only will I not kill you, I'll even think of ways to help you break through your limits and become the immortal expert you've always dreamed of. With you by my side, we'll definitely be able to dominate the myriad races of the primal chaos and achieve eternal glory. God Lord Fang actually changed his nature and began to patiently persuade me. Help me become immortal? Su Fang's eyes were filled with mockery. I don't need you to help me. I can still reach the peak and become an eternal immortal. You're the evil side of the divine Lord of 10 Directions. Isn't it laughable to say that you can't bear to kill me? Isn't that ridiculous? You just want to use me to wipe out the human race so that you can prove your Tao. You're trying to trick me with such nonsense that would fool a 3-year-old? You're quite smart. The divine Lord of 10 Directions smiled sheepishly. Since that's the case, I have no choice but to suppress you, then take over your body and consciousness. I'll enter the Luai's original realm and exterminate the human race. Su Fang sneered again. I hope your strength is as great as your boastful words. I also hope your strength won't disappoint me. While the divine Lord of 10 Directions' voice was still echoing, an evil intent burst forth and enveloped Su Fang. First, an evil intent that wanted to bury all life madly battered Su Fang's Tao heart. Beneath Su Fang's surroundings were the images of endless tombs. These weren't real tombs, but illusions created through mental visualization. Although they weren't real. Once Su Fang's will was broken, he would suffer real injuries and be buried in the tombs. Su Fang stood tall and lofty as he looked disdainfully at the divine Lord of 10 Directions' evil corpse. Your will is truly powerful, surpassing the limits of the Daozu, but how can it do anything to me? Su Fang's Tao heart had reached the level of supreme indifference. No external or internal will could shake his Tao heart in the slightest. The divine Lord of 10 Directions will had reached the astonishing level of eternal, but it still couldn't shake Su Fang's Tao heart. So you've already severed the 3 corpses and reached the eternal level of the heavenly Tao's heartlessness. The divine Lord of 10 Directions' bright eyes were filled with surprise. The 9 Yang 9 transformations that Su Fang cultivated in the Pongtsang universe was the Jiuquan Limitless Sutra of the divine Lord of 10 Directions. It wasn't strange that the divine Lord of 10 Directions could see Su Fang's Tao heart. The thought of the past once more stirred up the hatred in the divine Lord of 10 Directions' heart. Evil flames ignited in his eyes as he roared, if it weren't for the human race's Daozu pursuing this god, forcing this god to split into 3 and killing my execution corpse, this god would have severed the 3 corpses long ago and reached the apex. That's because you don't have my luck or courage, so you can't blame anyone else. Just like the Thunder Lake original realm. You had the Thunder Lake token long ago, but you never dared to step into the Thunder Lake original realm. In the end, you gave it to me. This is luck and the courage to face all dangers. How could I allow a junior like you to lecture this god? The divine Lord of 10 Directions let out a thunderous roar as a red light surged out of his forehead. Shah! Over there! The evil red light spread out in every direction, dyeing the cold and silent primal chaos blood red and suffusing the air with a frightening aura of death and violence. Whoosh! Whoosh! One figure after another appeared. They were not illusions of wills, but real cultivators, and their faces were extremely familiar to Su Fang. These cultivators included the foreign Daozu experts that Zhou Nua had recruited, as well as the human race's Daozu. There were 39 of them in total. These were the Daozu experts that the Divine Lord of 10 Directions had devoured and refined into puppets. Each puppet was equivalent to an avatar of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, possessing strength at the limit of the Daozu's 9th level. Ten God Lord Feng domineeringly said, Su Feng, if you can defeat this god's tomb keepers, you will have the right to challenge this god. I'll make sure you get what you want. Su said. God Lord Feng gave an embarrassed smile as he released his Heavenly Tao Avatar, Profound Yang Avatar, Profound Yellow Avatar, Heavenly Coffin Avatar, and Origin Soul Avatar. His 5 avatars blurred as they charged at the tomb keepers. The curtain was finally drawn on the incomparable battle between Su Feng and the Divine Lord of 10 Directions in the Primal Chaos. In the Primal Chaos, outside the void where Su Feng and the Divine Lord of 10 Directions were fighting, many eyes were using the power of the Heavenly Tao to observe the battle. The Thunder Lake Original Realm Spirit was worried about Su Feng's safety, so he was using the will of the Thunder Lake Original Realm to observe the battle. Su Feng is a little too confident. He could have waited patiently until he broke through the limit of the Daozu and reached the Immortal Realm. Then, he could have killed the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. But now, he's taking the initiative to challenge the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. That Divine Lord of 10 Directions has the strength of an Immortal Realm expert. Defeating him will be difficult. It had not been easy for him to find an inheritor who had the potential to become the master of the Thunder Lake Original Realm. If Su Feng died at the hands of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, the Realm Spirit would have to wait a long time again. How could he not be concerned? It was not just the Realm Spirit. The strongest expert of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan, Forefather Ice Soul, also placed a strand of his consciousness in the Heavenly Tao to observe the battle between Su Feng and the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. That Divine Lord of 10 Directions has not reached the Immortal Realm, but he has the strength of an immortal. It will be difficult for Su Feng to defeat him. I can't let my disciple lose his father. I have to save him at the critical moment. Forefather Ice Soul was not optimistic about Su Feng's chances and was prepared to save him at any time. Who knew, Forefather Ice Soul, if you dare to interfere in the battle between the two, you will become the enemy of the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan. Don't blame me for being impolite. Even if I can't seal you, your Ice Soul Sacred Clan will suffer as well. It turned out that the 7th forefather of the Tensei people had also projected his consciousness here. He noticed Forefather Ice Soul and immediately threatened him. No. The 7th forefather of the Tensei people and the forefather of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan had also placed a strand of his consciousness in the Heavenly Tao. Ice Forefather Ice Soul snorted. It seems that you are certain that Su Feng will lose? As long as no one interferes, Su Feng will definitely die. Although the Divine Lord of 10 Directions has not reached the Immortal Realm, his strength is comparable to that of an Immortal Realm expert. How can Su Feng, a Daozu cultivator, defeat him? Forefather Ice Soul pondered for a moment and replied, Fine. If I don't interfere, you can't interfere either. Otherwise, I will have to throw caution to the wind. Su Feng is the inheritor of the Luai's original realm and is protected by the eternal heavenly law. I dare not attack him. You can rest assured, the Qianyuan clan replied decisively. Su. Chapter 3283. The 3 Immortal Realm experts could see the difference between Su Feng and the 10 Directions Divine Lords. If nothing unexpected happened, Su Feng was destined to lose. Boom. Boom. Su Feng's 5 Dharma bodies were already fighting with nearly 40 Daozu peak experts. Strong, the collision of tyrannical power and supreme heavenly Tao created a large-scale destructive shockwave that caused the endless chaotic void to tremble violently. Whoosh! The coffin Dharma body's coffin lid slid open, releasing a monstrous deathly aura that was extremely similar to that of the 10 Directions Divine Lords. However, it was far less majestic, and the heavenly Tao contained within was on a different level. Heaven. The coffin Dharma body's aura transformed into 9 blood coffins that enveloped the 9 tomb keepers. Although it couldn't suppress them, it entangled the 9 tomb keepers, making it difficult for them to escape in a short period of time. Yuan the Dharma body used its array formation ability to create layers of arrays in the chaos, trapping the 7 tomb keepers within. Boom! Boom! Xian the Yang Dharma body released 9 divine suns, releasing supreme Yang power and supreme heavenly Tao that trapped more than 10 tomb keepers. Su the heavenly Tao Dharma body released its thoughts to form a yin-yang world that enveloped the 8 tomb keepers. The tomb keepers' strength was truly astonishing. Su Fang's 3 Dharma bodies could only trap them, and they couldn't hold them off for too long. The remaining 3 tomb keepers charged towards Su Fang's Xian Wang Dharma body, activating their deathly aura and vicious aura to engulf it. Heaven! I know. The Xian Wang Dharma body was Su Fang's true trump card. At this moment, there were 42 Daozu hidden within the Xian Wang Dharma body. In addition to the 7 Daozu from the 12 races that he had previously subdued, there were nearly 50 Daozu experts in total. Under Su Fang's will, all of their cultivation base seeped into the Xian Wang Dharma body. The Xian Wang Dharma body in the form of a pagoda suddenly erupted with the power of the 6 great Tao. Like a surging wave, it instantly engulfed the 3 tomb keepers and shattered them. After that, the pagoda suddenly charged into the formation created by the nascent soul avatar, and with the cooperation of the nascent soul avatar, it easily annihilated the 7 tomb keepers within the formation. Break them one by one. Su Fang displayed the loftiness of a peerless overlord. The Xian Wang Dharma body followed the same pattern and killed all the tomb keepers trapped by the Xian Yang Dharma body and the Heavenly Way Dharma body. Just like that, Su Fang borrowed the strength of the many foreign experts under his command to kill all 39 of the God Lord of 10 Directions tomb keepers one by one. So there are so many Daozu powerhouses hidden within your Dharmakaya. Divine Lord Fang lost 39 puppets, but he didn't seem to feel any heartache. In fact, his eyes were filled with anger and heartache. These puppets were refined by him using his own cultivation and consumed a lot of his strength. How could he not feel heartache? You have subordinates, but do you think I don't? Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. Guan Realm Spirit, who was watching Su Fang, heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't expect Su Fang to have so many Daozu powerhouses under his command. It seems that his strength has increased greatly. No wonder he has the courage to challenge the God Lord of 10 Directions. Ancestor Soul transmitted his thoughts to the Tensei people's 7th forefather and the Qianyuan youth. Are the 2 of you disappointed by this result? Disappointed? The Tensei people's 7th forefather laughed coldly. The Daozu is the Daozu. No matter how many of them there are, they are all ants in the face of immortal power. The Qianyuan youth replied indifferently, both sides have yet to show their true strength. It's too early to talk about the result. Then let's wait and see, the Ice Soul Elder said with an embarrassed smile. Although he seemed relaxed, he was still worried about Su Fang. Su Fangba said, God Lord of 10 Directions, show me your true strength. These tomb keepers of yours are no threat to me. Since you want to see my true strength, I'll do as you wish. Thoughts surged out of the God Lord of 10 Directions body like a tidal wave. They turned into an unparalleled divine might that enveloped the entire area. A domineering supreme principle and might of the God Lord of 10 Directions quickly created a space-time that enveloped Su Fang and his avatar. The heavens, earth, east, west, south, north, life gate, death position, past, future. Everything around Su Fang was sealed. My Lord of 10 Directions seal. The God Lord of 10 Directions had used the supreme divine ability he had created, My Lord of 10 Directions seal. The My Lord of 10 Directions seal that Su Fang had before came from the God Lord of 10 Directions good corpse, which came from the same source as the evil corpse. The My Lord of 10 Directions seal that the evil corpse of the God Lord of 10 Directions used now had different wills, supreme principles, and magic power. The spacetime created by the My Lord of Ten Directions seal not only sealed the heavens, earth, east, west, south, north, life gate, death position, past and future, but it also contained the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao that would bury everything in Su Fang in a grave and return to death. All life would return to death unless it surpassed the limits of life and reached a level where it could coexist with the heavenly Tao. Thus, the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao contained in the My Lord of Ten Directions seal could not be considered evil. My Lord of Ten Directions seal? Su Fang's eyes flickered with a strong fighting spirit. He had also once grasped the My Lord of Ten Directions seal. Although he had abandoned it now, he still knew how powerful this supreme divine ability was. Now that he could fight against the My Lord of Ten Directions seal that the God Lord of Ten Directions had personally used, Su Fang's fighting spirit was ignited. Fighting with a true expert, that was what a true cultivator was. Let's see if your My Lord of Ten Directions seal is more powerful or if the great ruins of En technique that I created is more powerful. Su Fang's thoughts and primordial energy surged out of his body and quickly condensed into a primordial mirror. Then, a primordial beam of light that contained the supreme principles of destruction and the end of all things erupted into the sky. Chi chi chi. A hole was forcefully torn in the spacetime created by the My Lord of Ten Directions seal, which then continued to expand into the surroundings. Everything was reduced to nothingness, and the cold and deathly still primordial void was revealed once more. The clash of the two supreme divine abilities ended with the great ruins of En technique's complete victory. Of course, it was not that the God Lord of Ten Directions was weaker than Su Fang. Rather, compared to Su Fang's great ruins of En technique, the My Lord of Ten Directions seal was clearly inferior. After all, the My Lord of Ten Directions seal was created when he was at the peak of the Tao Saint realm. Although it was extremely extraordinary, it was only at the level of Daozu at best. The supreme principles of the heavenly Tao it contained were clearly inferior to the great ruins of En technique. The supreme principles of the great Tao were the true essence of the heavenly Tao. The difference in principles made it difficult for the My Lord of Ten Directions seal to defeat Su Fang's great ruins of En technique. Su Fang hurriedly withdrew all of his avatars into his Tao palace. Realm Spirit exclaimed in shock, "Amazing! Such a divine ability is truly amazing. To be able to comprehend the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao's destruction and create such a peerless divine ability, Su Fang will definitely become a powerful immortal in the future." No wonder he dared to attack the Qianyuan clan's Lihua branch alone and was able to escape unscathed. It turns out that his strength is astonishing. When I was at the peak of Daozu, my strength was not even 1/10 of his. Patriarch Ice Soul was now completely relieved. In my opinion, the God Lord of Ten Directions does not live up to his reputation. He was actually suppressed by Su Fang. The God Lord of Ten Directions has yet to use his final technique. Why do we have to diminish his prestige? The Tensei people's seventh forefather and the Qianyuan youth were also secretly conversing. Su Fang revealed a domineering aura as he shouted at the God Lord of Ten Directions, "God Lord of Ten Directions, your master's Ten Directions seal is only SOSO. What other powerful techniques do you have? Su Fang, I have to admit that I have underestimated you. To think that you have cultivated the Jiuxuan's Wuji Sutra to such an astonishing level and created such a peerless divine ability that is even more powerful than my master's Ten Directions seal." The God Lord of Ten Directions finally looked at Su Fang with a serious expression. He no longer looked down on him. Su Fang snorted. "Why would I challenge you if I didn't have any powerful techniques?" God Lord of Ten Directions Fang shook his head and smiled. "If you think that this is all I have, you are truly laughable. Forget it. Let everything end. 9 suns burying the sky, 10 directions annihilation." God Lord of Ten Directions Fang's voice was still echoing when he suddenly waved his arm. His thoughts and aura soared into the sky from his body. Swoosh! Swoosh! One there were a total of 9 million thoughts, and every one of them condensed into a blood sun that looked like it was condensed from black blood. Within the blood sun, one could faintly see 9 tombs. Su Fang was no stranger to such a divine ability. Back in the Pansong universe, Su Fang had seen the evil god's descent use this divine ability. However, compared to the divine ability used by the God Lord of 10 Directions, the 9 suns condensed by the evil god's descent were like fireflies. At this moment, the 9 blood suns were like blazing suns in the sky. There was simply no comparison between the two. It was not just the difference in strength. 10 God Lord of 10 Directions Fang's divine ability contained the supreme truths of the heavenly Tao. It could seal all life and bury the heavenly Tao. It was as if the space-time created by the 9 blood suns was the final destination of the heavenly Tao's reincarnation. Such supreme truths of the heavenly Tao, coupled with the fact that the God Lord of 10 Directions Fang's cultivation was above Su Fang's, made the power of this divine ability far surpass Su Fang's great returning ruins technique. Startled, the deathly aura of the human began to seep into Su Fang's body, causing Su Fang's physical body to begin to corrode. Even his primordial energy could not stop it. Instead, it was corrupted by the evil aura. Even more so, even Su Fang's Tao heart began to be corroded. His immortal Tao heart was about to be corroded and returned to the grave. This was the powerful strength that only immortal powerhouses could possess. Although Su Fang could display 99% of Daozu's peak strength, he was still powerless in front of a true immortal powerhouse. Su Fang is in danger. Ling and Forefather Ice Soul began to worry for Su Fang. The God Lord of 10 Directions is indeed extraordinary to have mastered such a supreme great Tao. If we can recruit this person to our clan, he will be a great help to our clan. Even if Su Fang is not killed, he will be severely injured. Let's see how he will resolve this. The 7th ancestor of the Universe clan and the undying of the Qianyuan clan relaxed. They were certain that everything was over and that Su Fang would undoubtedly be defeated. Defeat meant death. The heavenly Tao's reincarnation is endless. How can there be an end? Destruction to the extreme is not the end, but the creation. Great creation technique. Chapter 3284. Su Fang, the god art you just used is indeed extraordinary. It's even on the same level as my 9 suns sky burial. Unfortunately, the difference between our levels of cultivation is too great. No matter how extraordinary your god art is, you'll still be crushed by me. Give up your futile struggle. If you surrender now, my promise will still stand. When Divine Lord Fang saw Su Fang use the great ruins of N technique again, he snorted disdainfully. Surrender to you? If I want to hand my fate over to someone else, why don't I just surrender to the other races? Why would I surrender to a half-step undying like you? Your 9 suns sky burial may be extraordinary, but it's still not enough to suppress Su Fang. If that's all you've got, then you can die. Su Fang's voice was like thunder in spring. Mirror the aura of great destruction on his face had reached its peak, and then it suddenly exploded, turning into a beam of chaotic light that shot out. The supreme truth of great destruction to great creation was above the supreme truth of God Lord of 10 Directions, shattering all the shackles. The 9 blood suns also began to shatter and eventually collapsed, revealing the 9 blood tombs inside. Just like the clouds parting to see the sun again, the surrounding chaos returned to normal. Under the violent impact of the collision, the chaos void shook violently and became abnormally chaotic. Even Daozu great beings would be injured if they entered this area, and cultivators below the Daozu level would be killed by the chaotic airflow. Su Fang took out hundreds of pills and swallowed them. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine was also crazily devouring the essence of the other great beings' corpses. Even the heaven-swallowing insects were spitting out Hong Meng Qi to fill the void in the Tao Palace and heal the injuries on his body. God Lord of 10 Directions' body swayed, and his pale face regained some color. His aura was much weaker than before. His god art had been destroyed, and he had suffered a great loss. Woo! Be it realm spirit or the three immortal realm experts, they were all surprised. Boundary, extraordinary, truly extraordinary, Ling muttered to herself. It seems that the future master of the Leisha original realm will definitely be able to restore the glory of the Rezegu people. Ancestor Ice Soul laughed proudly. Are you satisfied with this result, undying great beings? Humph. The seventh forefather of the Tensei people snorted coldly. I'm indeed surprised that a low-level race like the human race could produce such a shocking figure. However, no matter how extraordinary he is, he's alone. Even if he doesn't die this time, he'll be killed sooner or later. The undying of the Heaven Yuan race's mind contained a sharp killing intent. If you're not afraid of the eternal heavenly law, feel free to attack him. Patriarch Ice Soul snorted. It's not like the Qian Yuan clan doesn't have a way to circumvent the heavenly laws. At most, they would have to pay a price. The Su Fang is not a soft persimmon that you can bully. I'm just afraid that the Qian Yuan clan will end up like last time, going for wool and coming home shorn. Old Ancestor Soul and the Gan Yuan undying engaged in a war of words. Su Fang, you have truly shocked me. Even I found it hard to imagine that you could possess such astonishing strength. However, don't be so smug. That should be your most powerful trump card. I haven't used my most powerful move yet. The one who will have the last laugh will be me. Evil flames began to burn all over God Master of 10 Directions' body. The savage and evil aura caused the chaotic void to tremble and boil. 9. The bloody tomb began to surge with bloody light, which was then absorbed into his body. Boom! A black tombstone gradually rose from his body and became a towering tombstone that was tens of thousands of feet tall. The tombstone emitted an ancient and eternal aura. It was a primordial heavenly treasure. Not only but it was also not a primordial heavenly treasure. Instead, it was born and nurtured in the chaos and contained the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao. Not only that, the tombstone was clearly connected to God Master of 10 Directions' aura. He was the evil corpse of God Master of 10 Directions to begin with, so it was obvious that he was fusing with the tombstone and using it as a treasure for the evil corpse. No wonder God Master of 10 Directions has the strength of an undying even though he hasn't reached the undying realm. It's because he has such a powerful primordial heavenly treasure. That primordial heavenly treasure is called the Sky-Burying God Tablet. It's said that it has the power to bury the heavens. I didn't expect it to fall into God Master of 10 Directions' hands. This treasure is perfectly compatible with the principles of the heavenly Tao that God Master of 10 Directions has mastered. Su Fang may have the longevity lamp and the supreme battle flag of the Rezegu people, but he's no match for God Master of 10 Directions. He's dead for sure. This battle is over. There's no need for me to worry about that human ant anymore. Boundary Spirit, Old Ancestor Ice Soul, the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people, and the Gan Yuan undying couldn't help but exclaim when they saw God Master of 10 Directions use the primordial heavenly treasure. Boundary Spirit, and Old Ancestor Ice Soul were worried about Su Fang, while the other two sneered. Old Ancestor Ice Soul began to prepare a powerful attack. But who knew? Ice Soul Ancestor, don't bring trouble to yourself and the Ice Soul Holy Race. Ice Soul Ancestor sent a message over. Old Ancestor Ice Soul had to give up on the idea. Boom! The primordial heavenly steel erupted with supreme principles and divine power that could bury the heavenly Tao. It opened up a space in the chaos and enveloped Su Fang and his surroundings, trying to bury him alive. Su, the primordial heavenly Qi in Fang Dao Palace, surged out and formed a defensive boundary to resist the steel's divine power. His heart was also filled with shock and horror. However, it wasn't strange. God Master of 10 Directions was the first human to possess the strength of an immortal. He was also someone with great luck. Su, if Fong Do could possess two primordial heavenly treasures, what was so strange about God Master of 10 Directions possessing one? Su Fong, this is my true strength. Even though you are extraordinary, even surpassing me in the past, and being able to fight me to such an extent has surprised and shocked me, you are still unable to defy the heavens. God Master of 10 Directions' voice rolled over. He was extremely smug, as if everything was under his control. The surrounding space kept releasing terrifying death energy and evil energy that contained the will of death, trying to drag Su Fong to his death. Many human faces appeared on the primordial heavenly steel, each of them filled with pain and hatred. They were so densely packed that it made one's hair stand on end. The mouths of the faces let out cries and howls, releasing waves of soul-sucking power that wanted to tear Su Fong's soul apart and devour it. Su Fong, the primordial heavenly steel, kept surging with blood-red light, condensing into the words Su Fong's grave, and releasing a power that could devour fate. Once Fong's name appeared on the primordial heavenly steel, his fate would come to an end. 10 God Master Fong's primordial heavenly treasure lived up to its name of heaven-bearing. It possessed the power to attack one's life, soul, and even fate. Moreover, this primordial heavenly treasure, called the heaven-bearing divine steel, released power that completely surpassed the limits of the Daozu. It was comparable to an immortal's attack. Although Su Fong had 99% of the Daozu's strength, this small difference meant that he could only be crushed without any ability to resist. His defenses shattered layer by layer like sand. His life and soul were being stripped away, and his immortal Tao heart was being eroded. Even his fate was beginning to come to an end. It's still not certain who will emerge victorious. Let's go all out. Although Su Fong was shocked, he had not yet fallen into despair. On the contrary, his eyes burned with a strong will to fight. Whoosh! Su Fong activated the Sovereign War Banner and flew out of the Tao Palace. Battle! The banner flapped in the wind, erupting with a terrifying aura of war and slaughter. It clashed with the death energy and evil energy of the heaven-bearing divine steel, causing spacetime to collapse. The Sacred Heaven Avatar and Purple Fate Avatar also flashed out. Although the Purple Fate Avatar and the Sacred Heaven Stone could not strip away the heaven-bearing divine steel's power, they were able to greatly suppress it, causing the heaven-bearing divine steel's power to decrease by about 30%. Pa, pa, pa. The longevity lamp's flames burned wildly, and the lamp emitted a series of soul attacks. As the lamp flames swept out, the faces on the heaven-bearing divine steel screamed miserably, then burned and collapsed. Destiny Avatar, Sever Fate. Next, Su Fong's Destiny Avatar flashed out of the Tao Palace. The power of fate condensed into a saber and slashed in front of him. Chi! Entomb. The heaven-bearing divine steel locked onto Su Fong was severed by the saber, allowing Su Fong to break free from fate's control. Su Fong activated his primordial heavenly treasure and avatar, finally neutralizing the 10 Directions Divine Lord's attack. No. Passing Su Fong consumed a great deal of energy. Not only did it consume his will and thoughts, but it also consumed his lifespan and fate. His life force became weak, and his body was shrouded in a layer of bad luck. Su Fong's strength is indeed extraordinary. He has the strength to fight an undying. This kid is extraordinary, very extraordinary. He is indeed extraordinary, but he still can't fight against the 10 Directions Divine Lord. He won't be able to escape the fate of being killed. He's just overdrawing himself and using treasures to barely fight against the 10 Directions Divine Lord. It's like drinking poison to quench thirst. How long can he last? Ling, Ancestor Ice Soul, the Tensei people's 7th ancestor, and the Qianyuan race's undying were all shocked. However, no one thought that Su Fong could defeat the 10 Directions Divine Lord. It was only a matter of time before he was suppressed. No one had expected that Su Fong, who seemed to be resigned to his fate, would begin to prepare his most shocking attack. Chi! The heavenly devourer insects charged out of Su Fang's body and pounced on the heaven-burying divine steel above the 10 directions divine lord's head. They landed on the steel and began to gnaw at it. Burial the heaven-burying divine steel was indeed astonishing. Even the heavenly devourer insects couldn't shake it in a short period of time. However, they still managed to divert a lot of the 10 directions divine lord's attention, and the heaven-burying divine steel's attack weakened significantly. Su Fangfang took this opportunity to activate the heaven-piercing blood king vines with all his might. First, the blood vines pierced into the bodies of the Daozu, tall foreign race powerhouses, and their life essence gushed into Su Fang's body like a fountain. However, then, through the heaven-piercing blood king vine's blood threads, they seeped into every corner of Su Fang's body, causing the flames of life in Su Fang's body to burn and surge with heaven-defying momentum. Chapter 3285. Swish. 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 A mysterious energy surged out of Su Fang's body, containing a supreme principle that could reverse heaven and earth and control fate. Black and white vortexes of yin and yang appeared in Su Fang's eyes, spinning clockwise, shooting out black and white xian guang that enveloped the God Lord of 10 directions and transformed into a mysterious vortex of yin and yang. Heaven's will mediation art. In this moment of crisis, Su Fang used his final and most powerful technique, the Heaven's will mediation art. Swish. Although the Heaven's will mediation art was a divine ability that Su Fang had created in the Pangang universe, as Su Fang's cultivation increased, so did its power. Su Fang's cultivation had already reached the limits of Daozu, and he was only a hair's breadth away from reaching the immortal realm. The Heaven's will mediation art's power had also increased, even surpassing the limits of Daozu and reaching a level that could threaten immortals. However, any powerful divine ability had its corresponding limitations, and the Heaven's will mediation art was no exception. Su Fang was using the Heaven's will mediation art against an immortal realm expert to control the future of the God Lord of 10 directions and change the past. Naturally, he had to pay a terrible price and consume an astonishing amount of energy. His hair changed from jet black to gray and then to snow white at an alarming rate. His skin quickly turned from a baby's tender to old and withered, and his life force was rapidly draining away. Swish. Su Fang pushed the celestial blood king vine to its limits, instantly turning the corpses of the non-human experts into ash. Pound. His boundless vitality still couldn't stop the loss of life energy, and his recovery speed couldn't make up for it. However, for now, he wouldn't die from the loss of life energy. God Lord of 10 directions, you are the final obstacle to my path to the peak. Even if I have to exhaust my lifespan and fortune, I will surpass you this time. Su Fang looked at the God Lord of 10 directions, his eyes filled with a heaven-defying determination and domineering aura. This moment. For the sake of the human race's future, the good corpse of the God Lord of 10 directions burned itself to open the Thunder Marsh origin realm. Daozu had turned himself into a seal to shackle the evil corpse of the God Lord of 10 directions. Also the scenes of countless human beings being killed by the non-human kind emerged in his mind one after another. Namely, even if it was not for himself, for the Divine Master of 10 directions and the good corpse, for Xian Daozu, and for the humans who had died at the hands of the foreign races, Su Fang would do anything to kill the Divine Master of 10 directions. Ho-ho-ho, as the yin-yang vortex spun, the spacetime around the Divine Lord of 10 directions began to undergo an astonishing reversal. In under this supreme power that could twist the heavens and earth, the Divine Lord of 10 directions figure swiftly blurred as one image after another shot out of the black and white vortex. That it was a scene several hours into the future. Such as if nothing unexpected happened, according to the trajectory of fate and heavenly secrets, the future would be as real as shown by the projection. At this moment, the light and shadow being reflected from the yin-yang vortex was the result of the Divine Lord of 10 directions' heavenly fate manipulation technique. It wasn't just the outside world. Even the God Lord of 10 Directions himself and his mind were constantly changing along the trajectory of destiny and heavenly secret. In his mind, Su Fong was finally unable to resist the power of the heaven-bearing divine monument and was shackled by him. Then, his consciousness was taken over by him. What kind of remarkable ability is this? How could it possess such astonishing power that it can reverse the heavenly Tao? How could a Daozu master such a remarkable ability that can threaten an undying being? Realm Spirit, Forefather Ice Soul, the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people, and the undying of the heaven-bearing divine monument were all shocked and surprised. Who? None of them expected Su Fong to possess such a heaven-defying remarkable ability. This boy must be killed as soon as possible. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people and the undying of the heaven-bearing divine monument both felt threatened by Su Fong, and their eyes flashed with murderous intent. About 3 breaths later, Su Fong suddenly waved his hand toward the black and white vortex around the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. A projection rapidly appeared and then turned from nothingness to reality. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions figure quickly solidified. At this moment, he was immersed in the immense pleasure of shackling Su Fong, and he laughed heartily. Shoo! Unknown 10. Divine Lord of 10 Directions quickly sensed the abnormality, and his laughter stopped abruptly. Then, he looked at Su Fong in shock. At this moment, Su Fong swallowed the last 9-flower jade pill given to him by the Divine Mother of the Precious Tree. This pill was a supreme treasure of the heavenly tree race. As long as a cultivator's soul was not destroyed, even if there was only a drop of blood or a strand of hair left, it could restore a cultivator's life force. The Divine Mother of the Precious Tree had given Su Fong a total of 3 9-flower jade pills, and now there was only one left. At such a critical moment, Su Fong no longer cared about anything else. With the astonishing recovery ability of the pill, Su Fong's nearly depleted life force suddenly surged. Then, Su Fong used the Great Creation technique with all his might. A beam of chaotic light suddenly exploded and hit the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. I actually lost to Su Fong. I can't accept this. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions had just solidified and could not use any remarkable ability. He could only endure Su Fong's most powerful attack. At this moment, his heart was filled with unwillingness. Back when he was reigning supreme in the human world, Su Fong had not even been born yet. The 9 Yang 9 transformations that Su Fong cultivated came from the Jiuxuan limitless scripture that the Divine Lord of 10 Directions' evil corpse had deliberately spread to the human world. Now, how could the Divine Lord of 10 Directions be willing to accept defeat at the hands of Su Fong? The Divine Lord of 10 Directions' immortal-level strength came from the primordial heaven treasure, the heaven-burying god steel. However, he himself had not reached the immortal level. After taking the full blow of the Great Creation technique, his body's defenses shattered like a city made of sand, about to be destroyed along with the surrounding spacetime. Suddenly, a giant hand covered in divine runes appeared abruptly and grabbed at the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. Big. The terrifying power of the Great Creation technique suddenly shattered, and the Divine Lord of 10 Directions was grabbed by that giant hand, escaping the attack range of the Great Creation technique. Puff. Su Fong staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood filled with the aura of death. While his face, hair, and aura had turned into that of an old man in his 70s. He had 1 foot in the grave and could die at any moment. It's you. Su Fong barely steadied himself and looked at the void, gnashing his teeth. Out the one who had saved the Divine Lord of 10 Directions was the Qianyuan Undying. Ancestor Li Hua, how dare you go back on your word? Ancestor Per roared angrily, and his consciousness transformed into a figure that appeared in the chaos. Then there was a rumble of thunder, and lightning surged out of the chaos and quickly formed a heavenly gate. The Luai's original world spirit's thunderous roar came from within. Qianyuan Undying, why are you interfering with the life and death battle of the Luai's original world's descendants? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the eternal laws? The Qianyuan Undying's consciousness transformed into a young man who walked out of the void and sneered. I didn't attack Su Fang, so I didn't break my promise. The eternal laws can't do anything to me. How can an Undying be so shameless? Su Fang roared, gnashing his teeth. I've finally seen it for myself today. He was about to kill the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, but the Qianyuan Undying interfered. Although Su Fang's anger could burn the sky, he couldn't do anything to the Qianyuan Undying. Strength was always the most important thing. Shameless? The Qianyuan Undying sneered. Sun He displayed the aggressiveness of an Undying. What do you mean by shamelessness? It's just a rule that shackles the weak. I exist with the heavenly Tao. Isn't it laughable that you're using shamelessness to restrain me? Seems like your Tao heart isn't strong enough to become undying. Rotten great beings had reached a level where they existed with the heavenly Tao and were as ruthless as the heavenly Tao. To ordinary people, this was a despicable and shameless method, but to undying great beings, it didn't matter. Su Fang let out a clanging sound. It seems like the Heaven Origin clan is bent on killing me. Since I was able to defeat the 10 Directions Divine Master once, there will also be a second time. It doesn't matter if I am saved by you. I don't believe that the Qianyuan clan can protect the Divine Lord of 10 Directions forever. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions smiled evilly. It's my fortune to be saved by a great being. Why don't we fight again? Su Fang sneered. You only survived because of the help of an undying great being. What right do you have to fight me? Su Fang wasn't an idiot. He was on the verge of dying, so why would he fight the Divine Lord of 10 Directions again? He would have another chance to fight in the future, and then he would kill the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions snorted. Since he couldn't suppress Su Fang or kill the entire human race, the Divine Lord of 10 Directions had no hope of becoming undying. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, he couldn't be happy about it. Su Fang will remember this. Su Fang glanced at the undying of the Qianyuan clan and the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people coldly and was about to enter the Luai's original sector. Who? Ran. You killed the peerless genius of the Tensei people and countless great beings in our clan. How can I let you live? The 7th ancestor of the Tensei people suddenly said in a voice filled with killing intent. A godly power that could stop time instantly enveloped Su Fang. Who? The power of time suddenly accelerated on Su Fang's body. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Su Fang felt as though he had experienced several epochs. Undying of the Tensei people, stop! Spirit and Ancestor Ice Soul roared at the same time. A powerful Luai's original sector will erupted from the gate of heaven and surged toward the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people. Ancestor Ice Soul also released his thoughts and attacked the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people. The 7th ancestor of the Tensei people laughed loudly. The figure formed by his thoughts quickly turned into nothingness and disappeared from the chaos, then reappeared beside the undying of the Qianyuan clan. Su Fang was already in a state where his lifespan was greatly depleted. After being attacked by the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people, he looked a few years older. He was like a lamp that was about to run out of oil and die at any time. Hurriedly he urged the heaven-piercing blood king vine to frantically devour it. Only then did he recover slightly. Boundary Spirit roared, Tensei people, aren't you afraid of being punished by the eternal heaven? The 7th ancestor of the universe clan snorted. Heaven is dead, but humans are alive. I didn't kill Su Fang. I just punished him. Why would the eternal heaven punish me? Chapter 3286. Going back on his words. Tyrannical. Tyrannical. This was the power of an undying fighter. Su Fang, do you think the Tensei people and my race won't dare to attack you under the protection of the eternal sky law? What a joke. The eternal heavenly laws are your life-saving straw. I will take away this life-saving straw of yours. Let's see what else you can rely on. The Qianyuan race, the Tensei people, and the undying fighters of the 12 races will take away all the rights of the Reizeigu people in the Eternal Shrine. Let's see how arrogant you can be. The undying fighter of the Qianyuan race snorted coldly and showed his power. How dare you, undying fighter of the Qianyuan race? The Leisha original world shouted. The Zeigu race used to be an overlord power. Although it had been destroyed, the Reizeigu people still had a certain status and rights in the Eternal Shrine according to the Eternal Sky Law. The Zeigu race had one chance to send their heirs to the Eternal Shrine for the test. If they passed the test, the Reizeigu people would be able to keep their status in the Eternal Shrine and enjoy the corresponding status and rights. Qian, the undying fighter of the Yuan race, planned to take away the rights of the Reizeigu people in the Eternal Shrine with the other undying fighters. This meant that the Reizeigu people would be completely excluded from the Eternal Shrine. Su Feng, the heir of the Leisha original world, would not be protected by the Eternal Sky Law. By then, the undying fighters could attack him without fear. Even if Su Feng became an undying fighter, he would not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed and sealed. Qian, the undying fighter of the Yuan race, smiled domineeringly. Why wouldn't I dare? Not only do I dare, but I also have the ability to do it. By then, the Tensei people, the 12 races, and the undying fighters of the other races will be able to remove the Reizeigu people from the Eternal Shrine. It won't be difficult. The 7th ancestor of the Tensei people said majestically, I believe many undying fighters will respect the 2 high races. The Reizeigu people are already history. Who will stand up for the Reizeigu people? Humph! Let's wait and see. Ling snorted and did not say anything else. The Ganyuan undying looked at Su Feng with disdain and said, After we strip the Leisha original domain of all its rights in the Eternal Shrine, I will join forces with the other undyings to seal the Leisha original domain. When that happens, you and the human race will be sealed within the Leisha original domain forever, isolated from the outside world and left to fend for yourselves. Boom! Su Feng's body trembled, and his mind was buzzing. He gritted his teeth and glared at the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people and the undying of the Qianyuan clan. Such as if it was as the Ganyuan undying had said, the human race would be forever isolated from the rest of the universe. They would be no different from the low-level races in the low-level universe. Unexpectedly, he had never imagined that the Qianyuan clan would be so overbearing and ruthless. This is the primal chaos upper race. This is the immortal realm. Su Feng was furious, but at the same time, he felt powerless. The Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people were both primal chaos upper races with several immortal realm warriors. They had both power and influence. No matter how heaven-defying Su Feng was, it would be difficult for him to resist the 2 primal chaos upper races. Su Feng, this is what you get for offending the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan. I won't kill you, but I'll make you and your race suffer a fate worse than death. The 7th ancestor of the Tensei people glanced at Su Feng coldly. After a domineering smile, the figure formed by his thoughts dissipated and disappeared without a trace. Ants should have the awareness of ant. Trying to defy the heavens is the path to death. Ganyuan Undying said. The undying of the Qianyuan clan smiled embarrassedly and used a Xian Guang to wrap 10 Directions God Master and the Sky Burying God Tablet. They disappeared into the void. Tensei people. Qianyuan clan. Hatred. Conflict. None. Nigh. However, Su Feng's Dao heart was calm. With his state of mind, he wouldn't lose his composure in the face of any difficulties or desperate situations. Ice Soul Ancestor sighed. Su Feng, the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people are powerful enough to cover the sky. I can't help you much. Sigh, Su Feng smiled wryly. Senior, there's no need to say more. Ice Soul Holy Clan shouldn't interfere in this matter. Otherwise, even the Ice Soul Holy Clan will be implicated. I said, Go and recover from your injuries first. I'll take care of Xuanxin and your son Su Xianyun. As for the Eternal Shrine, I'll inform you as soon as I have any news. Thank you, Senior. Su Fang nodded and put his treasures and body into his Dao Palace. Standing, a bolt of lightning descended from the Luai's original realm and enveloped Su Fang. Then, it sucked him into the Luai's original realm through the gate of heaven. Realmling sent Su Fang into the space inside the divine origin pool. He had used up a lot of his lifespan and fate this time. Although Su Fang had the means to restore his lifespan and fate, he had used up too much of his energy. His recovery speed was also very slow. Fortunately, the time inside the divine origin pool was 1,000,000 times faster than the time outside. In addition, Su Fang didn't lack any resources or spiritual items. Great! Su Fang's almost depleted life force finally showed signs of recovery after devouring the essences of the foreign experts' corpses and precious pills to restore his lifespan. This meant that he was gradually escaping death. This time, not only had he used up his lifespan, but he had also lost a lot of fate. His purple fate avatar's aura had also withered. Lord Realm Spirit. Su Fang transmitted his thoughts to Realm Spirit. Realm Spirit's figure slowly materialized in front of him. He looked at Su Fang, shook his head, and sighed. Prince Su Fang, you want to ask me about the Eternal Shrine, right? Yes. The Reizegu people have been dead for many years. They don't have much influence among the immortal experts in the Eternal Shrine. If the Qianyuan clan, the Tensei people, and the immortal experts of the 12 clans unite and propose to take away everything the Reizegu people have in the Eternal Shrine, no one can stop them. Seems like we can only sit and wait. Fang was unwilling to accept this. The catastrophe of the human race had just been resolved, but now they had attracted even more powerful enemies and faced a new catastrophe. Therefore, the human race lived in the Luai's original realm. Even if they were isolated from the world and could no longer enter the Chaos 10,000 clans, it didn't mean that they were dead. However, Su Fang's ambition wasn't to let the human race live in misery. He wanted to lead the human race and stand proudly among the Chaos 10,000 clans. If the immortal experts joined forces to seal the Luai's original realm, the human race would be isolated forever. How could Su Fang be willing to accept this? Realm Spirit suddenly said, "Actually, there's a way." Fang's eyes suddenly became spirited. What way? Prince Su Fang, have you forgotten the 7th test in the Luai's original realm? You mean, the Eternal Heavenly Road? Yes. Realm Spirit nodded. As long as you pass the Eternal Heavenly Road, even if you don't become an immortal expert, you'll be listed in the Eternal Shrine and have some say in the Eternal Shrine. By then, the immortal experts of the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan won't dare to attack you. You've underestimated the ruthlessness of those immortal experts. Just having some say in the Eternal Shrine is far from enough. Ling chuckled sheepishly before continuing with her story. Prince Su Fang, you still don't understand the power of the Eternal Heavenly Road. Many immortal experts joined forces to create the Eternal Heavenly Road, but no one has been able to pass the test. If you complete the Eternal Heavenly Road, you'll definitely shake up the Eternal Shrine and become a powerful immortal expert in the future. By then, even if those immortal experts don't try to win you over, they won't easily offend you either. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan clan, and the other 12 clans won't be able to deal with you so easily. In addition, if you complete the Eternal Heavenly Path and complete the trial of the 7th Heavenly Path, the trial of the 8th Heavenly Path will be next. Then, you will have the opportunity to use the inheritance of the Luai's ancient clan and obtain great help from them. Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed. Help? Realm Spirit said proudly, the Reizegu people used to be the overlords of a region. How strong are their foundations? The immortal experts of the Reizegu people wanted to continue their inheritance. Before they were destroyed by the heavens, how could they not leave some powerful trump cards for their successors? Fang became spirited. What kind of trump card is it? You'd better focus on preparing for the test of the eternal heavenly road. As for what kind of trump cards they have, you'll naturally know when the time comes. If you can't pass the 7th test, it's meaningless to know more now. Eternal heavenly road. This time, I'll use the eternal heavenly road to prove my great Tao and enter the eternal shrine. My name will shake all the clans and I'll show my peerless power among the clans of the chaos. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan clan, and the other 12 clans. No one can suppress me, Su Fang. Although Fang's spirit was weak, at this moment, the domineering aura of a peerless expert rose spontaneously. The immortal experts of the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people disregarded their status and tried to kill me again and again. This time, they even saved the 10 Directions God Master and tried to deprive the Reizeigu people of their right to enter the Eternal Shrine and seal the original territory of the Thunder Lake. They made things difficult for me, so I won't let the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people have it easy. Following that, Su Fang's heart surged with a fierce aura. He immediately asked Realm Spirit for help to send his purple fate body, heavenly devouring insects, and Weaver Spider to the periphery of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan through the original territory of the Thunder Lake. Origin he came here to take revenge on the Qianyuan clan and use this opportunity to restore his luck. The purple fate body arrived at a spacetime. This was where countless cultivators of different clans lived. It was a part of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan. The purple fate body brought the Weaver Spider and heavenly devouring insects into the spacetime. The purple fate body and heavenly devouring insects directly infiltrated the mystic world and went deep into the heavenly fate cave where the luck of the mystic world was concentrated. The heavenly devouring insects drilled into the place where the origin essence of the mystic world was sealed. They bit the seal and wantonly devoured the origin essence of the mystic world. Such as in this way, not only did the luck of the mystic world start to flow away, but the origin essence of the mystic world was also flowing away. Losing their fortune and essence meant that these sealed worlds would quickly turn into wastelands. Because in order to not alarm the upper echelons of the Qianyuan clan, the purple fate body, Weaver Spider, and heavenly devouring insects did not completely devour the luck and origin essence of the mystic world. Wait when the upper echelons of the Qianyuan clan discovered the abnormality and investigated, except for the Qianyuan peak, the luck and origin essence of the other mystic worlds in the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan were almost completely devoured. The Qianyuan clan. The upper echelons of the Yuan clan were furious. Chapter 3287. The upper echelons of the Heaven Origin clan were shocked. The upper echelons of the Tensei people were shocked. Heaven in a god territory of a branch of the Universe clan. In a mystic world, the clone of the 7th forefather of the Tensei people appeared in midair. He sensed it. He discovered that the mystic world had lost 70% of its providence and origin. This was fatal for the mystic world. Losing so much providence and origin meant that the mystic world would gradually decline and eventually become a wasteland. It wasn't just this mystic world. More than 170 mystic worlds occupied by the branches and vassal forces of the Tensei people were the same. The Tensei people investigated but couldn't find any clues, so they had to ask the immortal masters to come out personally. The eyes of the 7th forefather of the Tensei people surged with the aura of time and Tao runes. No. In less than 10 breaths, the 7th forefather of the Tensei people's eyes became extremely fierce, and he said in a cold voice, "Su Fang, you're courting death." With his immortal strength and mastery of the Tao of time, it wasn't difficult for him to deduce that it was Su Fang who did it. He never expected that. Su Fang, who was seriously injured, would take revenge so quickly and so ruthlessly. So, a divine light flashed and quickly condensed into the figure of the Heaven Origin clan's immortal master. He communicated with the Tensei people's immortal master. "How dare you be so arrogant when you're about to die?" The Heaven Origin clan's immortal master gritted his teeth and shouted with murderous intent. Just like the Tensei people, the Heaven Origin clan's providence and origin of hundreds of mystic worlds had been devoured by Su Fong. How could he not be angry? What made the two immortal masters especially angry was that in their eyes, Su Fong was a pig waiting to be slaughtered. No one thought that Su Fong would take revenge for the smallest grievance, and even dare to retaliate against the two chaotic upper clans. He was domineering and overbearing. They killed whoever they wanted. They killed any weak clan they wanted. In their eyes, it was a matter of course. Now that Su Fong was seeking revenge, the two high races had suffered great losses. They deserved to die, so how could they not be angry? Tian, the seventh ancestor of the Ian clan, gloomily said, "It's just his last act of madness. Let's see how arrogant he can be after we strip away everything the Reizeigu people have in the Eternal Shrine." Luai's original realm. God, the Genesis Reservoir. Huff purple then, he summoned his avatar and flew out. Next, the sun spider and the heaven-devouring insect flew out of the violet fate Dharma body. Feeling Su Fong's face lit up when he sensed the auras of the spider and heavenly devouring insect. Purple, the luck Dharma body was no longer illusory. It was like a real body. Purple clouds floated above his head, and the lifelike violet luck heavenly dragon flickered in and out of the purple clouds. The aura of the purple fate spiritual body was filled with shocking heavenly Tao fate, as if it was the embodiment of heavenly Tao fate. The spider had also undergone a great change. It turned into a spider with a body as white as jade. It was thousands of feet long and looked holy. However, its aura was filled with a terrifying aura of misfortune and misfortune. This now, the spider was the embodiment of heavenly Tao calamity. It was even more terrifying than the spider on the heavenly fate platform. Heaven, the devouring insect, had also undergone a great change. After devouring the essence of more than 300 mystic worlds, it had grown to 3,000 feet long. Its aura was illusory, and its eyes were filled with endless savagery. The Tensei people and the Qian Yuan clan should be feeling the pinch now, right? This is just a temporary interest, Su Fong said. Fong Jingrong smiled and absorbed the purple fate Dharma body, the spider, and the heaven-devouring insect into the Tao Palace. As soon as the purple fate Dharma body merged with Su Fong's true body, all the bad luck that had enveloped Su Fong's body vanished. His entire being seemed to have become the heavenly Tao's favorite, filled with unparalleled fortune. Next, Su Fong continued to settle down and cultivate. He had completely escaped the danger of his lifespan running out. While recovering, he continued to cultivate the Jiuxuan Everlasting Sutra. He wanted to reach the 8th level of the Jiuxuan Everlasting Sutra as soon as possible so that he could prepare to break through to the next level. At the same time, he continued to study the Great Returning to Ruins technique, Great Creation technique, Mediating Destiny technique, and other divine abilities. According to Realm Spirit, with Su Fong's strength, he had at least a 70% chance of passing the Eternal Heavens Road. Now that Su Fong's strength had improved, he had at least an 80% chance of passing the Eternal Heavens Road. However, Su Fong did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. Nothing was certain. Variables could appear at any time. But passing the Eternal Heavens Road was of great importance. It concerned the future of Su Fong and the entire human race. Hence, he had to make preparations with all his might. Su Fong continued to cultivate the Jiuxuan Everlasting Sutra, comprehending the mysterious and profound Heavenly Bestowal Sutra. He forgot about the passage of time in the Divine Origin Pool. After an unknown amount of time, Su Fong's body suddenly shook. An invisible force surged out from his body, transforming into a distorted aura that shot into the sky from Su Fong's body. The Genesis Pool's space-time barrier could not stop it. The distorted aura rushed into the void and disappeared without a trace. However, the sky above Su Fong seemed to be torn apart by a sharp sword as a vortex appeared. An ethereal aura that contained a supreme will emerged from the vortex. It seemed to originate from the heavenly Tao, and was very similar to the Tao Source aura that appeared when Su Fang advanced to the Daozu realm. Jieling's figure appeared, her eyes filled with shock as she looked towards the vortex. What cultivation art is Prince Su Fang cultivating? How can it resonate with the heavenly Tao? Thunderclaps rang out from the vortex. It was as if there was a huge bell ringing. It was not a tribulation thunder, but a congratulatory message to Su Fang. Hue as rainbow clouds surged out, an auspicious aura descended, enveloping Su Fang and rapidly seeping into Su Fang's body. After half an incense stick's worth of time, the thunder and auspicious clouds gradually dissipated. The vortex also disappeared, as if nothing had happened. However, Su Fang's aura changed greatly, gaining a hint of holiness and eternity. This was an aura that only immortal experts could possess. He suddenly opened his eyes, which flickered with a hale and hearty light. He had finally cultivated the limitless profound sutra to the 8th level. This also meant that Su Fang had grasped the true essence of the heavenly Tao, and attained the immortal stage of cultivation. Su Fang had only managed to cultivate the Jiuxuan Limitless Sutra to the 8th level after many years of accumulation, as well as his secluded cultivation this time. Realm the world beyond worlds breakthrough had resonated with the heavenly Tao, as if congratulating Su Fang on his advancement. I possess the Tao Immortal Tao Heart, and have cultivated the Jiuxuan Limitless Sutra to the 8th level. Next, I only need to combine the 3 corpses, and merge my avatar and main body into one, becoming one with the heavenly Tao. Then, I will be able to step onto the peak of the great Tao, becoming an immortal expert that coexists with the heavenly Tao. The world beyond worlds breakthrough had filled Su Fang's heart with great joy, and he couldn't help but let out a long roar. Realm Spirit cupped his fists towards Su Fang and said, "Congratulations, Your Highness Su Fang, for your advancement. You are now half-step immortal expert, and it's only a matter of time before you become an immortal expert." Realm Spirit was also very happy, and his attitude towards Su Fang also became much more polite. How can it be so easy to become an immortal? I still need a long time to settle down. It's too late. The most important thing now is to go through the eternal heavenly road. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly, and his mood returned to normal. He counted with his fingers, and found that he had actually spent 120 million years in the divine origin pool. Traveling without the passage of time was even more so for a peerless expert like Su Fang, who was infinitely close to the peak. Only 120 years have passed outside. Let's go and see Xuanxin, Fairy, and my son first, and then we'll go through the eternal heavenly road. Su Fang stood up, and let Realm Spirit use the godly power of the Thunder Domain to send him to the Ice Soul Holy Clan. He was still worried about Xuanxin, Fairy Luo, and his son Su Xianyun. At the same time, he had offended the Tensei people and the Qian Yuan race. The other 12 races would definitely not let him off easily. Fairy Luo was in the Heavenly Tree race, and Xuanxin and his son Su Xianyun were in the Ice Soul Holy Clan. Su Fang was worried that the Tensei people and the Qian Yuan race would attack them. With the ruthless methods of the 7th elder of the Tensei people and the immortal experts of the Qian Yuan race, it was not impossible for them to do such a thing. Rumble! Thunder rumbled in the sky above the Soul Holy region. Then, lightning flashed, and a gate of heaven quickly formed. Su Fang flew out of the gate of heaven and projected his sensing energy. He sensed Xuanxin's energy. Still sensing an aura that was connected to his flesh and blood and fate, Su Fang became excited. Needless to say, the energy connected to his flesh and fate came from his son, Su Xianyun. Just as he was about to teleport over, the strongest of the Ice Soul Holy Clan, Ancestor Ice Soul's divine mind flashed and turned into an old man in white. He nodded and smiled at Su Fang. "Su Fang, you recovered so quickly?" Then, sensing Su Fang's energy, Ancestor Ice Soul's divine mind changed slightly. With his immortal level power, he could naturally sense that Su Fang had 1 foot in the immortal level, which was the so-called half-step immortal level. However, moreover, Su Fang's aura made even Ancestor Ice Soul, an immortal realm expert, feel wary. Such as how could Ancestor Ice Soul not be shocked by such a shocking speed of improvement? Senior, is there any news from the Eternal Temple? Su Fang asked impatiently. This was what he cared about the most. I was just about to contact you. I didn't expect you to come to the Ice Soul Holy Region in person. Go and see your son first, and then I'll talk to you in detail. Ancestor Ice Soul smiled embarrassedly. Then, his divine mind turned into a beam of divine light and disappeared. The Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people have obviously taken action. Su Fang saw some clues from Ancestor Ice Soul's expression. No, there was nothing to worry about. How bad could things get? Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 3 cultivators of the Ice Soul Holy Clan flew through the air. They were the 3 Daozu experts of the Ice Soul Holy Clan. Su Fang. The 3 Daozu experts of the Ice Soul Holy Clan looked very respectful, polite, and even awed. No. Guo Su Fang also sensed that, under the awe, there was a feeling of keeping a respectful distance from him. Su Fang frowned and didn't ask anything. He directly teleported to his son, Su Xianyun. Snow Ancestor exclaimed, Su Fang's energy now makes even me feel awe. How did he cultivate? How did he improve so quickly? Padaozu also clicked his tongue and sighed. The human race is such a low-level race, but there's actually such a peerless human. He's really extraordinary. Sooner or later, he'll become an immortal. Xing Ling Daozu snorted. However, he doesn't know how to endure. He offended so many experts and forces. Even if he becomes an immortal, he won't have a good ending. Senior brother Xing Ling, be careful. Su Fang's rights and wrongs are not something you and I can casually discuss. Saint Soul Daozu raised his sword-like eyebrows. Ling. Chapter 3288. It was the sacred mountain of the Ice Soul Sacred Ancestor. The 1,000-foot-high ice cliff was steep and slippery. Here on the ice cliff, there was a flight of stairs that led from the bottom of the cliff to the top. Here this was the Ice Soul Holy Clan's Heaven Stairway. Any ordinary member of the Ice Soul Holy Clan would be able to enter the Ice Soul Holy Clan's Holy Palace to cultivate and become the Ice Soul Holy Clan's carefully nurtured seedlings. However, the stairway to heaven was very slippery, and every step was overflowing with cold air. Even cultivators could not bear it, let alone ordinary members of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan. Therefore, very few ordinary members of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan could reach the top. Many ordinary members of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan failed midway and froze to death or fell to their death. Here at this moment, a 12-year-old boy was using his hands and feet to climb to the top of the ice cliff with great difficulty. Young, his appearance was clearly not that of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan, but that of a human boy. He was the only one of his kind in the Ice Soul Sacred Clan. Young, his hair and eyebrows were covered in ice, his face was red, and his hands and feet were frozen. First along the way the boy kept falling, but he kept getting up and continuing to climb. In the end, he could only use his hands and feet to climb step by step. I, Su Xianyun, must climb the stairway to heaven. Then my mother will let me cultivate and become a cultivator. The human boy looked at the endless ice cliff and gritted his teeth to continue climbing. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. More than a dozen Ice Soul Sacred Clan youths flew over on ice swords and hovered behind the human boy. Come and see. The peerless genius Su Xianyun is climbing the stairway to heaven like a dog. Didn't they say that he was born with the strength of a Daozu? Why can't he even enter the sacred temple? Why is he climbing the stairway to heaven? For a low-level race like the human race, it's very difficult to even become a cultivator. To be born with the strength of a Daozu? Several Ice Soul Sacred Clan youths mocked and ridiculed the human boy. The human boy turned a deaf ear to them and continued climbing the ice cliff stubbornly. For the leader of the group was a youth from the Ice Soul Sacred clan. He was only 15 years old, but his cultivation base wasn't weak. He was at the lower Tao Lord realm. He shouted coldly at the human youth, "Su Xianyun, you're just a bastard who ended up in the Ice Soul Sacred clan. If the Ice Soul Sacred clan hadn't taken in your mother, how could there be a bastard like you? Lung Zitai, what did you say?" The young man named Su Xianyun turned his head and glared at the young man from the Ice Soul Holy clan. Lung Zitai looked at Su Xianyun and proudly said, "I said you're just a bastard of the human race. If you have the ability, then come and beat me." Su Xianyun was not a cultivator. If he slid down the ladder, he would be smashed to pieces. How could he do anything to Lung Zitai? He could only clench his fists and gnash his teeth as he looked at Lung Zitai. "Su Xianyun, do you still think you're the darling of the Ice Soul Holy clan? In the past, even our clan's Daozu had to flatter you. When he fought with you when he was a child, not only did you break his leg, you even punished him when he went back. Now you and your mother are about to be driven out of the Ice Soul Holy clan. You're just a stray dog. We're going to collect all the debts you owe us." Humph, what genius! It's all bullshit. Otherwise, why didn't your mother teach you cultivation? Even if we don't kill him this time, we'll break his limbs. Behind Su Xianyun, more than a dozen young men from the Ice Soul Holy clan ridiculed and cursed. Suddenly the young man named Lung Zitai waved his sleeve and rolled out a cold wind that hit Su Xianyun. Su Xianyun was already about to be frozen, and he didn't have the slightest bit of cultivation. Being swept by the cold wind, he could no longer survive on the ladder and fell down the ice cliff. Lung Zitai shouted loudly, "Someone come quickly!" Su Xianyun failed to climb the ladder and fell down the ice cliff and died. The other young men from the Ice Soul Holy clan also shouted loudly. Seeing that Su Xianyun was about to fall to the ground, suddenly a soft airflow firmly supported him, and his body gently landed on the ground. Su Xianyun was shocked and stunned. This, Su Fang's figure slowly appeared from nothingness. He looked at Su Xianyun with gentle eyes and a smile on his face. "Are you Su Xianyun?" Seeing that Su Fang was obviously a cultivator of the human clan, Su Xianyun was stunned and forgot the danger he had just experienced. He asked, "Who are you?" "My name is Su Fang and I'm your father." Su Fang looked at his son with excitement in his heart. "You're my father?" Su Xianyun's eyes were filled with doubt and vigilance. He immediately snorted and said, "My mother said that my father was one of the top experts of the human race, a great hero of the world. You don't look like a great hero at all." Su Fang touched his nose and smiled embarrassedly. "I'm indeed your father. If you don't believe me, take me to see your mother." "Don't worry." Su Xianyun's eyes rolled, and he immediately pointed to the dozen or so youths of the Ice Soul Divine clan floating above and said, "I was almost killed by them just now. Since you're my father, avenge me and kill them all." Su Fang raised his eyebrows. Xuanxin was the adopted daughter of Ancestor Snow, and Su Xianyun was also the disciple of Ancestor Ice Soul. How could those youths of the Ice Soul Divine clan dare to humiliate him like this? Su Fang transmitted his divine thought. "Xuanxin, come out." A figure slowly emerged from the ice cliff. It was Xuanxin. Originally Xuanxin was hiding on the ice cliff. Even if Su Fang didn't do anything, Su Xianyun would be fine. "You still know to come to see your son?" Xuanxin looked at Su Fang and said in a faint voice. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. "Xuanxin, why didn't you let our son cultivate? And why would he be bullied like this in the Ice Soul Divine clan? He even almost died just now," he explained to Su Fang in his heart. It turned out that Xuanxin wanted his son to inherit Su Fang's cultivation, so he didn't let Su Xianyun cultivate. As a result, Su Xianyun, who was talented and strong, was still an ordinary person. In addition, Xuanxin didn't want Su Xianyun to be like those disciples of big factions, so he deliberately let Su Xianyun play with the other youths of the Ice Soul Divine clan. He didn't give him any special treatment. Even more so, he even encouraged Su Xianyun to climb the sky stairway to sharpen his mind. Su Xianyun was the disciple of Ancestor Ice Soul. Although Ancestor Ice Soul didn't teach him cultivation, Su Xuanyun's status in the Ice Soul Divine clan was unparalleled. In the past, not even the three Daozu dared to touch him, let alone the other youths. However, since half a year ago, there had been rumors that Su Fang had offended the Qianyuan race and the Tensei people and would be killed by the two higher races sooner or later. The Qianyuan race and the Tensei people also sent strong masters to force Ancestor Ice Soul to leave Xuanxin and Su Xianyun. Xuanxin's status and treatment didn't change much, but Su Xianyun began to be neglected. The youths who had been bullied by him took the opportunity to take revenge. Xuanxin had seen it all. In order to let Su Xianyun experience the coldness of the world and sharpen his mind, he pretended not to know. I didn't expect the Qianyuan race and the Tensei people to do something to Xuanxin and his son. It seems that Ancestor Ice Soul has to abandon them for the sake of the Ice Soul Divine clan. Fortunately, I came in time. Su Fang immediately understood. Although Ancestor Ice Soul had helped him time and time again, he had to think about the entire Ice Soul Divine clan. Although he wouldn't drive Xuanxin and his son out of the clan, he had to distance himself from them. Perhaps Ancestor Ice Soul had deliberately leaked the rumors so that Su Fang would know and take Xuanxin and Su Xianyun away, so that both sides wouldn't be embarrassed. Su Fang didn't do anything wrong for the sake of Ancestor Ice Soul and the Ice Soul Divine clan. How can I allow outsiders to bully my Dao partner and son? I'm here to bring you back to the Lei Zhe original realm. I've been waiting for your arrival for a long time. Su Fang, is it true that the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race want to deal with you and the human race? It doesn't matter. The Tensei people and the Qianyuan race can't suppress me, Su Fang. I'll use my hands to fight for the human race and for my son. I'll kill whoever stands in my way, including the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race. Su Fang showed a domineering aura. Then, he saw Su Xianyun, who was almost frozen, and Su Fang felt distressed. Xuanxin, you just watched your son suffer. Are you still his mother? Xian Xian smiled. Do you think I don't feel distressed? An unpolished jade won't become anything good. It's good for him to suffer more. However, Su Xianyun hid behind her, pointed at Su Fang and shouted, Mother, this person is a bad person. How dare he pretend to be my father? Xuanxin couldn't help laughing. He touched Su Xuanyun's head and said, Xianyun, don't talk nonsense. He is your father, Su Fang. He's my father? I don't believe it. Su Xianyun looked at Su Fang and shook his head. Su Fang smiled bitterly and said, How can you believe it? Su Xianyun said, Just now, Leng Zitai and the others bullied me and almost killed me. Since you are my father, you should stand up for me and kill them all. Su Fang raised his eyebrows. Kill them all? Su Xianyun said, Forget it. I'll let them live for the time being. When I become a cultivator, I will beat them with my fist. But I have to vent my anger. First, help me spank their butts. Xuanxin couldn't help but laugh. Su Fang nodded and said, That's how my son should be. If there's a grudge, then there's a grudge. 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 After that, Su Fang waved his hand and grabbed in the air. Then more than a dozen youths of the Ice Soul Holy Clan saw Xuanxin appear and ran away, but it was difficult for them to escape from Su Fang's hands. Swish! Swish! A few youths were directly caught by Su Fang and landed in front of Su Xianyun. Son, I'll help you vent your anger. Su Fang laughed and waved his hand, sending out more than a dozen palm prints, which landed solidly on the butts of those youths. Su Fang naturally, Fang wouldn't really do it. The youths of the Ice Soul Holy Clan screamed in pain, but they were all just flesh wounds. Su Fang Xuanyun was very happy. He nodded to Su Fang and said, "That's more like my father. But if you want to be my father, you still need to be tested slowly. Today you passed the first test." Su Fang and Xuanxin both burst into laughter. Chapter 3289. Suddenly Su Fang raised his eyebrows and looked at the sky above the ice cliff. "Xuanxin, you bitch, how dare you bully my son?" A thunderous, furious roar was transmitted over. Immediately, a figure broke through the air and appeared. It was a man in his 20s. His body seemed to be made of ice and snow. His face was handsome, his eyes were cold and sharp, and his eyebrows were like swords. He had an overbearing appearance. It was actually a former acquaintance of Su Fang, the elder of Shengling Palace, Lung Lingfeng. "Su Xianyun, you're finished. My father is here. Not only you, but even your parents will be in trouble." The youth named Lung Zitai sneered proudly. It turned out that he was Lung Lingfeng's son. "Son, don't be afraid. Father will skin whoever dares to bully you." Lung Lingfeng shouted domineeringly. Then, he flew down the cliff. He said coldly to Xuanxin, "Xuanxin, do you think that no one dares to provoke you like before? You're about to be driven out of the Ice Soul Holy Clan, but you still dare to be so arrogant. You even dare to bully my son." Su Fang. At first, Lung Lingfeng still had an arrogant and insufferably arrogant appearance. Who knew that when he saw Su Fang, his voice suddenly stopped, and his body began to tremble uncontrollably. "I didn't bully your son, but your son bullied my son Su Xianyun and even tried to kill him," Su Fang said indifferently, his cold eyes sweeping over Ling Zitai. Then, he smiled domineeringly. "Besides, even if I bullied your son, so what? Su Fangda, please spare my life." Lung Lingfeng's monstrous ferocity suddenly disappeared. He quickly knelt down to Su Fang and begged for mercy. Lung Zitai and the other youths were stunned. Su Fang Xuanyun was also shocked and surprised. He asked Xuanxin in disbelief, "Mother, father is so powerful that even Ling Zitai's father is so afraid of him?" Xuanxin touched Su Xuanyun's head and said proudly, "Mother once told you that your father is a peerless hero. Killing Daozu is like killing a chicken. Who isn't afraid of him?" "Killing Daozu is like killing a chicken?" Su Xianyun was shocked, and the way he looked at Su Fang suddenly became incomparably hale and hearty, full of reverence. Lung Lingfeng pulled his son Ling Zitai and kowtowed to Su. "He offended Su Fangda people. I beg you to let him off this time because he is young. I'm willing to bear all the blame for him." Scram! Su Fang waved his hand. It was his first time meeting his son, so naturally, he wouldn't let other things affect his mood. Moreover, the current Lung Lingfeng was an ant-like existence in Su Fang's eyes. Why would he take such a character to heart? Lung Lingfeng felt as if he had been pardoned. Suddenly, Su Fang raised his eyebrows and looked up at the sky. His eyes were frozen. Lung Lingfeng thought that Su Fang had changed his mind. He was so scared that his whole body trembled. Whoosh! More than 10 cultivators slowly flew over. Among them, there were more than 10 cultivators from the Eternal Race and Qianyuan race. Su Fang had already sensed the arrival of these cultivators. The two leading experts were from the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people. They were the top experts of Daozu, and their auras were extremely powerful. They were at least at the 9th level of Daozu. Ancestor Snow, Saint Ling Daozu, and Saint Soul Daozu, the 3 Daozu experts of the Ice Soul Divine clan, accompanied the 2 top experts of Daozu. They were all expressionless. More than 20 cultivators flew over and stood with their hands behind their backs above Su Fang. When Lung Lingfeng saw the experts from the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan, his courage was boosted. In his opinion, even if Su Fang had the strength to kill the Daozu, How could he deal with so many experts from the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people? Seeing that Su Fang couldn't even protect himself, Lung Lingfeng wasn't afraid of him. Killing the Daozu like killing chickens? Lung Lingfeng sneered in his heart. Let's see how you kill these Daozu this time. Buzz. Ancestor Soul's voice suddenly sounded in Su Fang's mind. Su Fang, don't blame me. The Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan have joined forces to pressure me. I can't do anything about it. After all, the Ice Soul Divine clan can't afford to offend these two higher races. I can only trouble Xuanxin and Su Xianyun. Su Fang replied, I understand. Ancestor Soul's meaning was clear. In order to protect the Ice Soul Divine clan, he had to force Xuanxin and Su Xianyun to leave the Ice Soul Divine clan. Su Fang, although Su Fang understood Ancestor Ice Soul's difficulties, his relationship with the Ice Soul Divine clan had to end here. At least, it wouldn't be like before. Ice Ancestor Soul continued, these two elders from the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people have been in the Ice Soul Divine clan for some time now. I've been holding them back. Now that you're here, I'll give them to you so you can vent your anger. Thank you, Senior. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly and looked at the two experts at the peak of the Tao Ancestor realm. His deep eyes exuded coldness. Ancestor Ice Soul was clearly angry at being forced to leave by the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan. However, he couldn't do anything to the cultivators from the two clans, so he sent them to Su Fang to die. Then, the Tensei people's first elder was an old man with white eyebrows. He looked down at Xuanxin and Su Xianyun and said indifferently, Are they Su Fang's Dao partner and son? Su Fang didn't try to hide anything, but after reaching the 8th level of the Jiuxuan's Wuji Sutra, his aura had become even more ethereal, as if he'd merged with the heavenly Dao. The Tensei people and Qianyuan cultivators didn't recognize him. They thought he was just an ordinary human cultivator. Snow Ancestor Soul, Shengling Daozu, and Shengling Daozu had clearly received instructions from Ancestor Ice Soul in advance and didn't say anything. Here. Under Daozu's pressure, Xuanxin and Su Xianyun trembled. Su Xianyun was pale with fright. Xuanxin held him in his arms and then looked at the old man with white eyebrows. He answered in a neither servile nor overbearing tone, Yes, I'm Su Fang's Dao partner. This is my son. I didn't expect there to be such a good seedling among the ants of the human race. The middle-aged man from the Qianyuan clan looked at Su Xianyun with divine light and then sighed. Little did he know then, he changed the topic and said with an embarrassed smile, It's a pity to kill such a genius seedling. The old man with white eyebrows laughed and said, Why don't we take him back and use him as a slave? If we train him carefully, he'll be a powerful expert in the future. The middle-aged man from the Qianyuan clan smiled and said, He's just an ant. It's not worth the effort. Just kill him. The two Tensei people and Qianyuan cultivators pointed at Su Xianyun and didn't put anyone in their eyes. Ancestor Snow and the other experts from the Ice Soul Divine clan looked at Su Fang and then at the two cultivators. Everyone sighed and sympathized with them. Su Fang suddenly looked at Su Xianyun and said, Yuner, do you see that? Without strength, you're just an ant. Your fate and life will be controlled by others. If you want to control your own fate and future, you can only rely on strength. Su Xianyun said, I see, Father. I understand now. Su Fang nodded and smiled, then said, In the chaos, strength is the most important thing. Now I'll show you that with supreme strength, you can control the life and death of others. Who are you? How dare you talk nonsense in front of me? The middle-aged man from the Qianyuan clan only noticed Su Fang now and shouted coldly. Whirlwind he saw Su Fang's face. His divine light changed instantly. He staggered and almost fell from the sky. You're Su Fang. You're just an ant. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me, Su Fang? You want to kill my Dao partner and son? Suppress them all. Su Fang showed the power of a peerless overlord. His powerful will suddenly rose and enveloped all the cultivators from the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people. At Su Fang's will attack, the Dao hearts of more than 10 cultivators from the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people were shaken. They could no longer stay in the sky and fell to the ground one after another. The white-haired old man from the Tensei people and the middle-aged man from the Qianyuan clan were extraordinary. They withstood Su Fang's will attack and were about to escape. Pa! Pa! Soul flames suddenly jumped in Su Fang's eyes. Pa! The fiery light shrouded the two mighty ones. The overbearing and powerful power of the soul tore their souls from their bodies and sucked them into Su Fang's holy Ji palace. The lamp of longevity burned and refined their souls into pure power of the soul. Pa! Their corpses fell to the ground from the sky and died just like that. Then, Su Fang released a thought from his glabella. It condensed into streaks of slaughter sword qi that shot towards the cultivators from the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan. After a series of screams, except for the 2 cultivators, all the other cultivators were killed by Su Fang. Pa! In just a moment, 2 peak Daolords who had reached the limit of Daolords above the 9th level and more than 10 powerful cultivators were annihilated. Su Fang's current strength was so powerful. Patriarch Snow, Daofather Saint Soaring, and Daofather Saint Soul, the 3 Daofathers of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan, were all stunned and awed. Lung Lingfeng couldn't help but tremble. His eyes were filled with respect and fear. His son, Lung Zitai, was so scared that he wet his pants. The other youths from the Ice Soul Sacred Clan were also trembling in fear. This is my father. Killing Daozu is as easy as killing a chicken. When I grow up, I want to be a peerless cultivator like my father. Su Xianyun looked at Su Fang with an incomparably hearty gaze. In addition to shock, there was also incomparable respect. Go back and tell the Immortal Realm cultivators of your 2 clans that Xuanxin and Su Fang have nothing to do with the Ice Soul Sacred Clan anymore. If they want to deal with me, they can come at me directly. However, the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people had better consider the consequences. Su Fang snorted and waved his sleeve, sending the 2 survivors flying. Ancestor Snow and the other cultivators of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan flew down the ice cliff and cupped their fists respectfully to Su Fang. Su Fang nodded slightly and looked at Su Xianyun. Seeing the latter's eyes, he smiled embarrassedly. Su Xianyun, can you prove that I'm your father now? Su Xianyun nodded repeatedly like a chicken pecking rice. Su Fang chuckled. You recognize me as your father because I'm strong. If I were an ordinary person without any strength, wouldn't you recognize me? Su Xianyun answered, if you were an ordinary person without any strength, you would always be my father. When I grow up, I'll protect you and my mother. As expected of my Su Fang's son. Ha ha ha. Chapter 3290. He came to the depths of Ice Soul Sanctuary. Su Fang stood in the snow with his hands behind his back. After a while, Snow the flowers rolled, and Ancestor Ice Soul's figure quickly condensed. I'm really sorry, Su Fang. Ancestor Ice Soul stared at Su Fang and smiled helplessly. It's not your fault. Su Fang smiled faintly. Then he asked, excuse me, is there any news from the Eternal Shrine? Ancestor Ice Soul nodded. Yes, the Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the undying of the 12 races have joined forces and proposed to the Eternal Shrine to deprive the Reizeigu people of all their rights in the Eternal Shrine. We're just waiting for the undying to make the final decision. The Eternal Shrine was an organization jointly established by the undying. If there was an irreconcilable dispute or conflict between the 10,000 races in the chaos, the undying of the Eternal Shrine would jointly adjudicate it. Heaven the Universe race and the Qianyuan race were both high races in the chaos, and there were nearly 20 undying of the 2 races in total. Then including the undying of the 2 races and the 12 races that Su Fang had offended, their power in the Eternal Shrine was naturally shocking. Su Fang asked, when will the Eternal Shrine make the final decision? It's not easy to push the Eternal Shrine to make a decision. It'll take a lot of time just to gather the undying of the 10,000 races in the chaos. However, it won't take too long. In another 100,000 years, the Eternal Shrine will make the final decision. At that time, unless the 3 supreme royal races show up, no one can change the decision of the many undying. Great Supreme Royal Race? Su Fang didn't know much about the chaos and the Eternal Shrine, so it was the first time he heard of the 3 supreme royal races. Among the races in the chaos, there are 3 races that can be called the supreme royal races. They are superior to higher races like the Qian Yuan race and the Eternal race. However, the 3 supreme royal races usually don't interfere with the affairs of other races. They're above the 10,000 races, so the Reizeigu people's affairs won't alarm them. It seems like the Eternal Shrine is destined to deprive the Reizeigu people of all their rights. Then, the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan will be able to deal with me as they wish. Ancestor Ice Soul sighed. Things are worse than you think. According to what I've heard, the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people not only want to deprive the Reizeigu people of all their rights in the Eternal Shrine, but they're also contacting other immortals to seal the Luai's original sector. Su Fang sneered. So what if the Luai's original realm is sealed? The human race can still survive and reproduce in the Luai's original realm. Ancestor Ice Soul shook his head and said, "This is not an ordinary seal, but a complete severing of the connection between the Thunder Lock original realm and the outside world and even the heavenly Tao. In this way, the Thunder Lock original realm will gradually dry up and eventually be trapped to death." Are the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan really that powerful? The Luai's original sector was an independent spacetime created by the heavenly Tao. It was easy for the immortals of the 2 clans to isolate the Luai's original sector from the chaos. However, it was not easy to completely isolate the Luai's original sector from the heavenly Tao. The Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan may not be able to do it, but if the 12 clans and the immortals on good terms with the 2 clans work together, it's entirely possible. Su Fang realized the severity of the situation, which was far beyond his imagination. He felt as if a storm was coming, and the immense pressure almost suffocated him. The Luai's original sector depriving all rights and even sealing the Luai's original sector would certainly affect the future of the human race, but it would not cause the extinction of the human race. If what Ancestor Ice Soul said was true, the human race would really be in danger. The Luai's original sector. The Luai's original sector would eventually become a wasteland due to the exhaustion of the spiritual qi and the inability to practice cultivation. Ancestor Ice Soul looked at Su Fang and said apologetically, "Su Fang, I can't help you. I'm really sorry." "Senior, don't blame yourself. Besides, we're not at the end of the road yet." Su Fang smiled embarrassedly and then bid farewell to Ancestor Ice Soul. After releasing the Luai's original sector origin, the Gate of Heaven appeared in the air. Su Fang flashed into the Gate of Heaven and returned to the Luai's original sector. He brought Xuanxin and Su Xianyun directly to the spacetime where Su Yaotian and the other elders lived. Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Xian Lingzi, and the other elders were all very excited. They treated Su Xianyun like a precious treasure and circled around him. "Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan, you're using your power to suppress me. How can I let you do as you wish? Even if you are the heavens, I, Su Fang, will go against the heavens." Seeing the happy and harmonious appearance of the family, Su Fang's desire to become stronger became even more resolute. Su Fang left the spacetime. "Lord Realm Spirit, please send me to the Heavenly Tree Race." Su Fang then asked Realm Spirit to use the Luai's original sector to teleport him to the Heavenly Tree Race. With the 2 upper races, it wasn't difficult for them to find out that Goddess Luo was in the Heavenly Tree Race. Since the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan had attacked Xuanxin and his son, they definitely wouldn't let Goddess Luo go. Deep in the chaos. A divine tree took root in the chaos. It spread out countless branches and opened up a dimension. There was a green barrier around the divine tree. In the inner space of the divine tree, there were countless leaves growing on the branches. Each leaf was a mystic world, where hundreds of millions of alien race beings lived. This is the heavenly tree of the heavenly tree race? Su Fang was shocked when he saw such a magnificent heavenly tree. He couldn't help but admire the wonders of the chaos. Then he carefully sensed. He discovered that the heavenly tree that propped up the entire dimension exuded astonishing wood-type essence and life energy. It also contained an intense eternal and immortal energy. This heavenly tree was actually a primordial spiritual item born from the chaos. It was even more powerful than ordinary primordial heavenly treasures. However, its main ability was not to attack but to nurture and nourish. At the same time, Su Fang sensed Goddess Luo's destiny energy from within the heavenly tree and immediately felt reassured. The heavenly tree race has a primordial spiritual item like this, and the precious tree mother has a primordial heavenly treasure. No wonder the heavenly tree race doesn't have any immortal experts. Even the upper races don't dare to target them. In his shock, Su Fang dismissed the idea of entering the heavenly tree race. His relationship with the precious tree mother was purely a transaction. Renai transaction was built on the basis that both sides were equal in strength. With previously, the precious tree mother wanted to suppress him and hand him over to the Tensei people. Later, she was intimidated by Su Fang's strength and changed her mind. Now, facing the pressure of the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race, and even an immortal expert would appear. Whether the precious tree mother would attack Su Fang like last time, Su Fang didn't dare to be sure. Entering the heavenly tree space now was the same as walking into a trap. Once he clashed with the precious tree mother, it would definitely be disadvantageous for Su Fang. I hope the precious tree mother won't do anything stupid. Su Fang inexplicably snorted. He then released a thought and flew toward the heavenly tree boundary. Just as he approached the boundary, a divine light flashed. Hundreds of wills appeared from the boundary and turned into the figures of the heavenly tree race cultivators. One of the heavenly tree race cultivators coldly shouted at Su Fang's thought, "Who are you? What business do you have with the heavenly tree race?" Su Fang released the powerful will of a peak Daozu powerhouse and said in a majestic voice, "Human Su Fang requests the precious tree mother to come out and meet me." Under the pressure of Su Fang's will, the heavenly tree race cultivators all trembled, and some of the wills directly dissipated. Su Fang, the leader of the heavenly tree race cultivators, looked at Su Fang in shock. He then said politely, "Please wait a moment. Allow this one to report to the Divine Mother." After half an incense stick's worth of time, a divine light flashed from the boundary outside the heavenly tree and turned into the figure of the precious tree mother. Her figure then flashed and appeared in front of Su Fang. Bao, the heavenly tree mother, indifferently asked, "Su Fang, why have you personally come to the heavenly tree race?" Su Fang said, "Divine Mother should know why I have come to the heavenly tree race. Please send the heavenly daughter out, and this one will take her back." The precious tree godmother coldly said, "The heavenly daughter is my disciple. Her future will naturally be decided by me, so why would I hand her over to you?" Su Fang's heart sank, realizing that something had happened. His eyes instantly froze, and his tone became impolite. "Although the holy maiden is your disciple, she's also my Tao companion. I want to take her away, but the Divine Mother doesn't want me to. Is there something else?" The heavenly tree mother indifferently snorted, "Since you already understand, this one will get straight to the point. The Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan's immortal powerhouses have personally sent this one a decree, asking this one to shackle the heavenly daughter and wait for the powerhouses of the two clans to come and take her away. If this one gives the heavenly daughter to you now, the heavenly tree race will suffer a calamity." Su Fang coldly shouted, "The heavenly daughter is your disciple. Are you going to give your disciple to the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan just like this? The Heavenly Tree Mother said, For the Heavenly Tree race, I can only wrong the Heavenly Daughter. If you want to give the Heavenly Daughter to the two clans, then you have to see if I, Su Fang, agree. If you hand over the Heavenly Daughter now, I will owe the Heavenly Tree race a favor. Once I obtain the inheritance of the Luai's original realm, I will give the Luai's Thunder Vine to you as repayment. Luai's Thunder Vine? That is something this one needs to become immortal. Of course, this one wants it. However, even if you obtain the inheritance of the Luai's original realm and fuse with it to leave the sealed Luai's original realm, even if this one obtains the Luai's Thunder Vine, the Heavenly Tree race will be destroyed by the two higher races, so what's the point? Su Fang, I'm sorry, but this one cannot give the Heavenly Daughter to you. Go, this one will not make things difficult for you. Not make things difficult for me? Su Fang awkwardly smiled, then became aggressive. If you don't hand over the Heavenly Daughter, I will have to make things difficult for the Heavenly Tree race. You? The Heavenly Tree Mother stared at Su Fang and indifferently smiled. Su Fang, this one knows that you are extraordinary and have even passed through the starry sky path of 10,000 arts, which no one has ever passed before. However, don't forget that this one has a primordial heavenly treasure, and this is the Heavenly Tree race. Unless you are an immortal powerhouse, don't even think about standing in front of this one. Quickly leave, or don't blame this one for being impolite. Chapter 3291. Since you're so unreasonable, then there's nothing more to say. I can only use my strength to reason with you. Su Fang had a domineering smile as he used the great returning origin art with his will visualization technique. The will of the heavenly Tao that could destroy and end everything rolled towards the precious Tree Mother. Sensing Su Fang's powerful will, the precious Tree Mother's divine light changed instantly. This brat's current strength is so terrifying. Bao the Tree Mother was shocked and had to borrow the will of the Heavenly Tree to form a huge phantom to defend against Su Fang's will. Boom! The phantom of the Heavenly Tree collapsed layer by layer. Even though she managed to dissolve more than half of Su Fang's will visualization technique, she was still affected. Her Tao heart was struck by the power of will and almost collapsed. Her Tao heart was also shaken and trembled. Her green face turned pale in a split second. Su Fang, I didn't want to suppress you because of our old friendship, but I didn't expect you to be so ruthless. Don't blame me for being merciless. The Tree Mother was enraged. She gritted her teeth and activated the 12 primordial heavenly treasure trees. Merciless? When have you ever been merciful? Tree Mother, I'm no longer the little cultivator from the western mysterious mountain war. It's not too late for you to hand over the Heavenly Daughter now, otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Su Fang's tone was cold and his gaze was like lightning that pierced through the night sky. I'll just suppress you too. Who knows, maybe I can get the supreme treasure to reach the immortal level from the Tensei people and Qianyuan race. Greed surged out of the precious Tree Mother's heart. She shook her arms and 9 million thoughts rushed out from her body. The thoughts created a space-time that was filled with the heavenly Tao's momentum of life and death. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Su Fang fell into the space-time and was affected by the heavenly Tao's principle of life. The life force in his body also surged uncontrollably. When the life force reached its peak, it started to wither, die, and then reincarnate. In this way, from growth to death, the cycle repeated itself without end, and it contained the principle of the cycle of life that was endlessly growing and multiplying. Su Fang was also trapped in the cycle of life again and again. His will was being worn down and his life was quickly draining away. Bao Su Fang had experienced the divine ability of the Tree Godmother from the heavenly tree race's Ku and Rong ancestors, so he was naturally familiar with it. Here when the precious Tree Divine Mother used it herself, she even borrowed the power of the celestial tree in the distance. The power of this divine art was 100 times stronger than that of the two ancestors. Su Fang's current strength is not something you can imagine. Su Fang sneered disdainfully, using the great ruins of N technique and the great creation technique. The great art of ruins end to the great art of creation was the supreme truth of the heavenly Tao's creation from destruction. It was above the cycle of life. Furthermore, Su Fang had cultivated the Jiuxuan's limitless sutra to the 8th level. As his cultivation level increased, so did his strength. In the past, Su Fang was able to display 99% of Daozu's maximum strength. Now it was 100%. Although, however, it was only a single step away, yet it reached the great circle of Daozu, able to shake the undying level. Boom! Boom! The collision of the supreme truths of the heavenly Tao caused a world-shaking disturbance. Time-space shattered, and the surrounding primal chaos space violently trembled. Chaotic streams of air swept up, shaking the celestial tree's boundary and causing it to erupt with a boundless green light. Treasure, the precious tree divine mother, was sent flying. She opened her mouth and vomited blood. Her aura rapidly weakened, and cracks began to appear on her body under the impact of Su Fang's divine art. It was like the bark of a tree that had been shaken apart. That little human cultivator from back then was so powerful that even this one could not resist. The precious tree divine mother looked at Su Fang, her eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Back in the western Black Mountain, Su Fang was just an ant in her eyes. She did not even bother to kill him. Now, Su Fang's strength was above hers. How could she not be shocked? Precious tree divine mother, how could I, Su Fang, be an ordinary cultivator? Not only do you regret it now, but you and the celestial tree race will also regret your decision in the future. Su Fang displayed the loftiness of a peerless overlord, making the precious tree divine mother feel like she was facing an immortal expert. Your current strength is indeed above this one's, but this one has been at the peak of the Daozu for countless years, and I am also the supreme of my race. How could a human cultivator with shallow foundations like you compare to me? The precious tree divine mother let out an indescribable snort. She waved her hand and grabbed out streaks of green light that fell into spacetime. The green light quickly turned into 12 towering trees that took root in the primal chaos. They connected with the celestial tree race's celestial tree aura and emitted a terrifying wood-type aura, as well as an eternal aura. They were the precious tree divine mother's primordial heavenly treasure, the 12 treasured trees. You have a primordial heavenly treasure, but does Su Fang not have one? Su Fang gave an embarrassed smile. The longevity lamp and supreme war flag flashed out from his forehead. 2. The aura of the primordial heavenly treasure broke through the shackles of the 12 treasured trees and suppressed their auras. Tight. Next, Su Fang released the heavenly devouring insects. Hiss! Heaven. As soon as the insects appeared and saw the 12 treasured trees, they immediately let out a shocking roar. Their ferocious aura soared to the sky, and they looked at the 12 treasured trees with indescribable excitement, as if they had seen some delicacies. 2 primordial heavenly treasures. Heavenly devouring insects. You have cultivated the heavenly devouring insects to such an astonishing level. The precious tree divine mother's divine light changed again. Su Fang, not to mention that Fang had 2 primordial heavenly treasures, just the heavenly devouring insects were enough to give the precious tree divine mother a headache. Thus, with the heavenly devouring insects' current strength, it would not be difficult for them to directly devour her 12 treasured trees. How could she not be afraid? Su Fang Ba said domineeringly, "Precious tree divine mother, you do not want your primordial heavenly treasures to be devoured by my heavenly devouring insects, nor do you want your people to be slaughtered by me. I advise you to obediently release the heavenly daughter. Su Fang, you are powerful. The heavenly tree race admits defeat this time." The precious tree divine mother could only lower her head. Heaven, the devouring insects could counter her 12 treasured trees, and with Su Fang's 2 grand mist heavenly treasures, even if he could not exterminate the heavenly tree race, he would still inflict heavy casualties on them. How could the treasured tree divine mother not lower her head? Bow the precious tree divine mother put the 12 treasured trees back into her body and then sent a thought back into the heavenly tree's space. A few moments later, Goddess Luo flew out of the barrier. Look! Upon arriving at Su Fang, Goddess Luo was both shocked and delighted, and tears began to flow from her eyes. With me here, no one will dare to bully you. Su Fang pulled Goddess Luo into his embrace, comforting her as he sensed her. When he found that Goddess Luo was fine, he let out a sigh of relief. Forget it. The precious tree divine mother's luck was pretty good. If something had really happened to Goddess Luo, Su Fang would have really gone on a killing spree in the heavenly tree race. Even if he could not exterminate the heavenly tree race, he would have dealt a heavy blow to their vitality. Su Fang, this one will give the heavenly daughter to you. From now on, the heavenly tree race will have nothing to do with you, Bao said. The precious tree divine mother coldly snorted and prepared to return to the heavenly tree's space. Oh my! Ji Su Fang suddenly sneered. The matter of the heavenly daughter is over, but the grudge between us is not. You want to leave? The precious tree divine mother raised her eyebrows and coldly said, What else do you want? You proposed a deal with me back then, but now you're going back on your word. I, Su Fang, am not a pushover. You can do whatever you want. Su Fang, don't be so unforgiving. Did you think about sparing the heavenly daughter just now? If I had not suppressed you with my strength and forced you to hand over the heavenly daughter, she would have fallen into the hands of the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race. Who knows what kind of torture she would have suffered. Today, I, Su Fang, will be unforgiving. Su Fang was like this. If someone punched him, he would return the favor with 2 punches. Just now, Su Fang was still apprehensive when Goddess Luo was still in the hands of the precious tree divine mother, but now that he had rescued Goddess Luo, how could he let the matter go? What will it take for you to let this go? The heavenly tree race's 9 flower jasper pills are not bad. Take out 10,000 and my grudge with the heavenly tree race will be written off. 10,000 9 flower jasper pills? You have a big appetite. The precious tree divine mother was furious. The 9 flower jasper pills are refined from the flowers of the heavenly tree. The heavenly tree only blossoms once per epoch, and each time, it can only refine 109 flower jasper pills. You actually want 10,000. The precious tree divine mother took out a storage ring and threw it to Su Fang. There are 109 flower jasper pills inside. All of the heavenly tree race's remaining 9 flower jasper pills are here. It's up to you whether you want them or not. Then, the precious tree divine mother angrily returned to the inner space of the heavenly tree. 100? I, Su Fang, am not a beggar. You think a mere 100 pills can make me leave? Su Fang put away the storage ring and sensed it. He found that there were indeed 109 flower jasper pills inside. These pills were truly extraordinary. The 3 pills that the precious tree divine mother had given Su Fang were equivalent to saving Su Fang's life 3 times. No. The precious tree divine mother wanted to hand Goddess Luo over to the Qianyuan race and the Tensei people. If Su Fang had not arrived in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. With Su Fang's personality, 109 flower jasper pills were naturally not enough to quell his anger. Su Fang's figure flashed as he teleported out of the heavenly tree. Imperial Heaven Avatar, strip innate abilities. Su Fang released the Imperial Heaven Avatar, and a supreme divine might that could strip innate abilities erupted from the bottom of the boulder. The Imperial Heaven Avatar had the extraordinary ability to strip innate abilities from cultivators, so it could naturally strip the abilities of primordial spiritual items as well. The divine might enveloped the heavenly tree. The entire heavenly tree began to tremble, and the space-time of the heavenly tree race fell into turmoil. Whoosh! Imperial! The heavenly avatar stripped a green light from the heavenly tree, which flew out of the heavenly tree and into a golden talisman at the bottom of the Imperial Heaven avatar. Su Fang then turned to Goddess Luo. Imperial! The heavenly avatar once more erupted with divine might, but this time, it was a power that bestowed innate abilities to cultivators. It enveloped Goddess Luo. Su Fang had used the Imperial Heaven avatar to strip the heavenly tree's innate abilities and then bestowed them on Goddess Luo. The green light seeped into Goddess Luo's body, and her aura rapidly became profound and ethereal. Luo. The celestial maiden could also sense that her cultivation talent was transforming at an inconceivable speed. She could naturally comprehend all the mysteries that she had previously found difficult to comprehend. At the same time, countless mysterious and unfamiliar pieces of information appeared in her mind. These were the ancient legacies of the celestial tree. After obtaining a portion of the heavenly tree's abilities, Goddess Luo's future accomplishments were limitless. Goddess Luo was both shocked and stuttered. Su Fang, you are. I'm just making the heavenly tree race pay a small price, Su Fang said with a smile. He smiled sheepishly and sucked Goddess Luo into the Tao Palace from his palm before teleporting out. From Chapter 3292. Su Fang returned to the Luai's original boundary and sent Goddess Luo to the training hall where her family lived. Thus, with all of Su Fang's family members returned to him, Su Fang no longer had any worries. Thus, Goddess Luo settled down in her residence and was also given a large amount of resources for her cultivation. Su Fang then prepared to call his son over to meet Goddess Luo. Oh my! I know. However, he did not find his son Su Xuanyun's aura in the training hall. Su Fang was surprised and sent a telepathic message to Xuanxin. No, after a while, Xuanxin arrived. Xianwen Xian and Goddess Luo met. Both of them were overjoyed. They chatted excitedly and left Su Fang to the side. Su Fang could not help asking, Xuanxin, where did you hide our son? Only then did Xian Xian end her conversation with Goddess Luo. She sighed helplessly and said, Father, grandfather, and the others spoil Xian Yun too much. Furthermore, in the entire Leisure original realm, everyone flatters and protects him. If this continues, I'm worried that he will end up like those playboys. Su Fang nodded and said, That's right, we have to find a way to solve this. How can I raise my son like trash? Xian Xian smiled. I thought you would love your son and not want him to suffer. I'm relieved now. Fang asked, Where did you send him to suffer? Xian Xian said, It was Xian Yun himself who suggested that he should start from the first layer of heaven and start from the basics. He is in the first layer of heaven now. To prevent him from relying on me, I even asked Master Dongxian to seal Xuanyun's memory. Su Fang asked, He went to the first heaven? Su Fang was stunned, not expecting Su Xianyun to have such ambition to start cultivating from the first heaven. The first heaven of the Luai's original boundary was equivalent to a small world in a low-level universe. Although Su Xianyun had the powerful life force of a Taoist master, he had never cultivated before. Going to the first heaven was equivalent to starting from scratch. Su Fang recalled how he had relied on his own efforts to reach his current height from the Pongtsang universe. He could not help but sigh. He pondered for a moment. Su Fang suddenly waved his hand and grabbed out a strand of primordial force, and it swiftly rolled before him before transforming into a red and black profound light. Qi. Su Fang sent a thought into the Xian Guang, and the Xian Guang immediately materialized into a mirror. One side of the mirror was red, while the other side was black. It was exactly the same as Su Fang's Hunyuan sacred mirror. However, this mirror was tens of thousands of times more powerful than the Origin sacred mirror. Bastard after all, the Origin sage mirror was created by Heavenly Venerate Pantsang, who was a cultivator at the level of a Tao master. While Su Fang's current realm was already half a step into the immortal realm. Naturally, Pantsang couldn't be compared to him. The Origin sacred mirror couldn't be compared to the mirror he had created. The Origin sacred mirror once helped me rise in the Pongsong universe. Let this mirror help my son rise in the Luai's original boundary. Su Fang's thought moved, and the mirror disappeared from the inner space of the cave. It instantly passed through the shackles of the 6 heavens and finally landed in the 1st heaven. Su Fang's thought lived in the mirror, and it would eventually fall into Su Xuanyun's hands. Moreover, there was the 9 Yang 9 transformation technique in the Origin sacred mirror. Under the guidance of Su Fang, Su Xianyun would also embark on the path that Su Fang had once walked. No. Unless it was a matter of life and death, Su Fang's thought in the mirror would never help or expose his identity. Otherwise, Su Xuanyun's cultivation would be meaningless. As for how high Su Xianyun could go in the future, it would depend on his own efforts. After all, Su Fang could only provide him with some external forces. Su Fang projected his sensing ability and soon sensed Su Xianyun in the 1st heaven. Then, his sensing ability swept through all the 6 heavens and sensed the humans and demons living in the 6 heavens. The look in Su Fang's eyes turned resolute and hardy. The Thunder Lake original realm is still too small. Next, for my son, my family, and all human beings, I will fight for a place in the chaos. Retracting his sensing ability, Su Fang looked at Xuanxin and Goddess Luo, and his eyes became gentle. Chow. Su Fang chuckled at the two of them. One son is too little. I, Su Fang, want to have at least 100 sons. Why don't we call senior sister Xu Wanjin over and discuss how to have a son together? Xian and Goddess Luo's faces turned red in an instant. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Time flew by. Soon, 100,000 years flew by. Deep in the chaos, an island floated in the chaos. The island was not big, only 10 million miles in area. However, the scenery on the island was beautiful, with birds singing and flowers fragrant, forests and mountains everywhere. Island. The spiritual energy on the island was extremely pure and high-level. The world's aura contained the origin of the heavenly Tao. Even for those top Daozu experts, it was definitely a holy land for cultivation. No. Other than all kinds of divine birds and divine beasts, there was not a single cultivator on the island. In the center of the island, there was a mountain peak that was only 1,000 feet tall. It was surrounded by clouds and mist, looking abnormally mysterious. Mountain at the peak of the mountain, there was a thatched cottage standing alone. Mao in front of the cottage, an old man was lying on a tattered chair, snoring thunderously. On the roof of the thatched cottage hung a rusty copper bell. Above the island was a sky full of stars that orbited the island in a strange pattern. Just by comprehending the pattern of these stars, one could comprehend the supreme great Tao from it. Any cultivator or force would scramble for such a holy land. However, such a holy land was not occupied by any faction or powerful race. That was because this island was extraordinary. This island was called Heaven Pass Island. In the chaos, there were countless factions, holy lands, xianbao, and spiritual items with the word Heaven Pass in their names. This island was called Heaven Pass Island. It sounded very tacky, but it was extraordinary. This was because one could really reach the heavens from this island. Pass heaven meant that one could reach the ethereal heavenly Tao and enter the eternal shrine that existed in the heavenly Tao. Whoosh! A figure broke through the void outside Heaven Pass Island. He looked at the island and muttered to himself, Heaven Pass Island will be the place where I, Su Fang, will enter the eternal shrine and shock all races. Su Fang had settled in the Luai's original realm for 100,000 years. He was finally ready to take the test of the 7th heaven and challenge the eternal heavenly road. This, when Su Fang came to Heaven Pass Island and prepared to challenge the eternal heavenly road, a decision that related to the fate of Su Fang and the human race was also going on in the eternal shrine. In the ethereal heavenly Tao, a magnificent palace floated majestically. Palace. On the plaque in front of the palace, there were 2 large golden words, Eternal. Just these two words contained the endless truth of the heavenly Tao and the supreme will of the heavenly Tao. It included all kinds of laws. Even if an ordinary cultivator took a glance at it, even if it was a Tao ancestor expert, their Tao palace would shatter and their will would collapse immediately. The Eternal Shrine. Ru. It was the embodiment of the heavenly Tao. Even an immortal would not dare to offend the authority of the Eternal Shrine. Eternal inside the Eternal Shrine. Void rows of futons floated in the void. Don't underestimate these seemingly ordinary futons. Each futon represented a different identity. Also only an immortal was qualified to enter the Eternal Shrine and have a place in it. There were more than 1,000 futons, representing all the immortal of the chaos races, as well as the various powers and races. Over 1,000 Eternal Realm experts seemed to be quite a number, but compared to the countless races and cultivators in the primal chaos, this number was nothing at all. They were like phoenix feathers and Chelan horns, and their numbers couldn't be described with words. Here there were many figures sitting cross-legged on the praying mat. They were all formed by the thoughts of the undying beings of the chaos 10,000 races. First there were more than 1,000 futons, but only 100 or so were empty. Come. The immortal of the Qianyuan race, the Tensei people, and the 12 races were all present. Ice-old ancestor soul and the immortal of the starry race were also present. The empty futons were not because there were people absent, but because some powerful races that were once glorious kept a seat after they died. If there were inheritors who could pass the tests of the Eternal Shrine and still be listed in the Eternal Shrine, they had the right to make decisions. Don't underestimate this right. In the Eternal Shrine, one word could decide the rise and fall of a race and the life and death of countless cultivators. Everyone there was a golden futon floating in the middle of the futons. A middle-aged man in a golden robe sat on it. The middle-aged man had a rough appearance. His hair and beard were all golden, like steel needles. There was a golden horn on his head, and mysterious spiral runes were all over it. Here, being able to sit in such a prominent position, his identity must be extraordinary. He was obviously above the other immortal. He was from the Gold Horn race, one of the 3 supreme royal races. Every time there was a meeting in the Eternal Shrine, there would be an immortal from the 3 supreme royal races presiding. This time, it was the Gold Horn race's turn. Everyone! The Gold Horn race said in a majestic voice. Then the many undyings who were conversing in the dark immediately stopped and sat upright on the praying mat. The Gold Horn race stroked his golden needle-like beard and nodded. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the other races, a total of 53 immortals, have proposed to abolish all the rights of the Reizeigu people in the Eternal Shrine. Today we've gathered you here to make the final decision. Let's start the voting. An old Tensei people said indifferently, the Reizeigu people have been extinct for many years. Although we've found an heir, this person is cruel and arrogant. He relied on the eternal sky law to kill our Tensei people. Our immortals are restricted by the eternal sky law, so we can't do anything about it. This caused the heir to become more and more arrogant. Immortals, please uphold justice for our race. Then an immortal from the Qianyuan race shot out a Xian Guang, which turned into a light screen. It showed Su Fang's massacre on the Qianyuan peak of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan race, and the scene of Su Fang swallowing the fate and origin of the mysterious worlds of the Qianyuan race. However, then the Qianyuan race shouted coldly, "This man is so arrogant and disrespectful. If we don't abolish the rights of the Reizeigu people in the Eternal Shrine, who knows how many races will be slaughtered by him? Immortals, please decide." Chapter 3293. Shua. An undying warrior of the Qianyuan clan unleashed a Xian Guang, which transformed into a light screen. From the light screen displayed the scenes of Su Fang slaughtering the Qianyuan clan on the Qianyuan peak of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan, as well as the scene of Su Fang devouring the fate and origin of the mysterious worlds of the Qianyuan clan. Seeing Su Fang killing Daozu like killing a chicken, many undying warriors were shocked. However, the undying warrior of the Qianyuan clan shouted coldly, "This brat is so arrogant. If we don't strip the Reizeigu people of their rights in the eternal shrine, who knows how many other clans will be slaughtered by this brat? Undying warriors, please decide." The undying warriors of the 12 clans and the Qianyuan and Tensei people who had been bribed by the Qianyuan and Tensei people started to condemn Su Fang. Most in the end, out of the 873 undying warriors, 859 of them agreed to strip the Reizeigu people of their rights in the eternal shrine. No one objected. Only Ice Soul Ancestor and the undying warrior of the space race, as well as some undying warriors who had grudges against the Tensei people and Qianyuan clan, chose to abstain. As such, the Reizeigu people had lost all their rights in the eternal shrine, and they could only wait for the Gold Horn clan to make the announcement. Of course, if the Gold Horn clan objected, they could overturn the decision of the other undying warriors. This was the power of the 3 supreme royal clans. However, how could the undying warriors of the 3 supreme royal clans use their supreme power for such a trivial matter? The outcome had been decided, and no one could change it. This, the Tensei people, Qianyuan clan and the other undying warriors of the other clans had expected such a result, and they were all delighted, but they didn't show it on their faces. However, they were secretly discussing how to seal or even work together to break the Leisha original sector and divide the inheritance of the Reizeigu people. The Gold Horn clan undying nodded. "Since everyone has made a decision, then I shall announce, dang, dang, dang." The solemn sound of the bell reverberated abruptly in the inner space of the palace. Everyone, many immortal realm experts, were stunned. The Gold Horn race undying being laughed. Who would have thought that there would be a cultivator ringing the eternal heaven bell at this time, preparing to enter the eternal heaven road? It has been many epochs since anyone attempted to challenge the eternal heavens road. Now, someone actually intends to do so. Interesting. Ever since the eternal heavens road was created, no one has ever been able to complete the eternal heavens road. This time, which race's cultivator isn't afraid of death and actually dares to attempt the eternal heavens road? Many of the undying realm experts were discussing. Clock, his voice fell. A calm yet persistent voice resounded within the palace. The successor of the Reizeigu people, human cultivator Su Fang, wishes to pass through the eternal heavens road. Please allow me to pass through the eternal shrine. The inheritor of the Luai's original realm? What a coincidence. We were just discussing the matter of the Reizeigu people, and now, the inheritor of the Reizeigu people wants to challenge the eternal heavens road? Is this a coincidence, or is it intentional? All the immortal realm experts were stunned. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan race, and the undying beings of the 12 races all had ugly expressions. Su Fang chose to challenge the eternal heavens road at this time. Obviously, he was deliberately challenging the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race. Didn't you want to deprive the Reizeigu people of everything in the eternal shrine? I will use my own strength to prove that even if I am deprived of all my rights, I still have the ability to enter the eternal shrine and stand side by side with the undying realm experts. Su Fang was using his own actions to challenge the Qianyuan race and the Tensei people. Su Fang really came. Ancestor Ice Soul stroked his white beard and laughed. Su Fang passed through the starry sky path of 10,000 art. Only he can pass through the eternal heavens road. The undying realm expert of the sky race laughed. Su Fang passed through the eternal heavens road of 10,000 arts and won the admiration of countless cultivators of the starry sky race. This undying realm expert of the starry sky race also admired Su Fang and even gave Su Fang a star nest pill. Jean, the great being of the horn race, said majestically, "Interesting. No matter the result, this decision is meaningless. Why don't we let the inheritor of the Reizeigu people pass through the eternal heavens road first? What do you think?" Naturally, no one dared to refute the great being of the horn race. They all nodded in agreement. Then the undying realm expert of the golden horn race said majestically, the inheritor of the Reizeigu people is allowed to pass through the Eternal Heavens Road. After 1,000 years, the Eternal Heavens Road will be opened. The majestic voice came out of the Eternal Shrine and echoed in the sky above Tongtian Island. Opening the Eternal Heavens Road will consume a lot of energy, and it will also require everyone's cooperation. Please make some preparations and take action after 1,000 years. When the Undying Realm expert of the Horn race nodded, he turned into a golden light and disappeared from the futon. Humph, this guy is really arrogant. Does he think the Eternal Heavens Road is so easy to pass? If he dies in the Eternal Heavens Road, it will save us a lot of trouble. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people snorted coldly. The Eternal Shrine's original intention of opening the Eternal Heavens Road was to prevent cultivators with no background from dying prematurely under the pressure of powerful forces. At the same time, the Eternal Heavens Road was also a shortcut for cultivators to reach the top in a single bound. The Tensei people and the Qian Yuan race bullied a human cultivator. Which Undying Realm expert didn't know this? It was just that they didn't want to expose it for the sake of the two high races and the Undying Realm experts of other races. Now the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people was so angry that he was about to pass through the Eternal Heavens Road in Sufang. No matter whether he succeeded or failed, it would be a big blow to the reputation of the two high races. Then, the young man of the Qian Yuan race also snorted. That human ant wants to die. He can't blame others. The Undying Realm expert of the Sky race suddenly said, that human cultivator can pass through the starry path of 10,000 arts of the Starry Sky race. It's not impossible for him to pass through the Eternal Heavens Road. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people didn't expect the Starry Sky race to speak for Sufang. He said unhappily, although the starry path of 10,000 arts of the Starry Sky race is extraordinary, it's not the Eternal Heavens Road. Since the Undying Realm expert thinks highly of that human ant, won't the Starry Sky race become a laughingstock if he dies on the Eternal Heavens Road? The Undying Realm expert of the Starry Sky race stroked his beard and laughed. Why don't I make a bet with the Tensei people? If Sufang fails, I'm willing to give up the Annihilation Star River. If he passes through the Eternal Heavens Road, the Tensei people will give me a primordial heavenly treasure of equal value. What do you think? The Undying Realm expert exclaimed, The Annihilation Star River? The Undying Realm expert of the Starry Sky race? That's a peerless treasure you've refined for countless eras. It's even better than an ordinary primordial heavenly treasure. Are you willing to bet with it? The Undying Realm expert of the Starry Sky race laughed. For existences like us, all treasures are mere worldly possessions. A mere treasure is nothing. Isn't it just a primordial heavenly treasure? I'll bet with you. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people said decisively. It seems that I'll have another primordial heavenly treasure. Undying Realm expert Xing He laughed. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people also laughed. Undying Realm expert Xing He, I think it's more likely that you'll lose a treasure. Let's wait and see. But let me make it clear first. The bet between us is just a spur of the moment. I don't mean anything else. If I win, don't hold a grudge against me. Humph, I'm an Undying Realm expert. How can I be so narrow-minded? Tongtian Island. Sufang sat cross-legged on the peak of the mountain, motionless. The elder who had been sleeping in front of the cottage had woken up and was looking at Sufang with interest. You're about to cross the Eternal Heavenly Road, but you're still so calm. You must be quite confident, the elder suddenly said. Sufang opened his eyes. Although he was very polite, his tone was firm. Since I dared to come, I naturally have full confidence. The elder who guarded Tongtian Island was also an Undying Realm expert's thought doppelganger. Sufang naturally had to be more polite in front of him. I've been guarding the Eternal Heavenly Road since it was created. There are a total of 5,836 practitioners here. All of them are peerless Daozu and peerless geniuses. When they first arrived, they were full of confidence like you. But in the end, none of them were able to complete the eternal heavenly road. Moreover, the eternal heavenly road is a road of no return. Once you enter, you can't leave. Even an undying realm expert can't save you. Su Fong said confidently, there are always exceptions. Since an undying realm expert has created the eternal heavenly road, it means that practitioners below the undying realm have a chance to pass it. As long as there's a chance, I might be able to seize it. The elder scratched his messy beard and nodded. Well said. I admire practitioners like you the most. This thought doppelganger of mine has stayed on Tongtian Island for countless years, and is bored. I might as well tell you about the eternal heavenly road. Thank you, sir. Su Fong was surprised and happy. His spirit became hale and hearty. Since this undying realm expert's thought doppelganger had stayed on Tongtian Island after the eternal heavenly road was created, he must be very familiar with the eternal heavenly road. Being able to obtain some useful information from him was naturally a good thing. Time passed. Day after day passed. It took time for the eternal heavenly road to open. During this time, the news of Su Fong's attempt at the eternal heavenly road had spread throughout the myriad races. It had been a long time since a practitioner dared to attempt the eternal heavenly road. Moreover, Su Fong's conflict with the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan had long shaken the myriad races. Therefore, the news of Su Fong's attempt at the eternal heavenly road immediately attracted the attention of the myriad races. Strong practitioners constantly arrived outside Tongtian Island in various ways. Almost all of them were big shots of the primal chaos races. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan clan, and the upper echelons of the 12 races also rushed to Tongtian Island. Gradually, over 1 million cultivators gathered outside Ingress Island. They weren't just here to watch the show. To any undying realm expert, watching a practitioner attempt the eternal heavenly road was a great opportunity. Although there were many people, no one dared to take a step into Tongtian Island. They could only stay outside. Apart. Chapter 3294. What kind of race is the human race? There's actually such a powerful human who has the courage to challenge the eternal heaven's road? The human race is just the lowest race in the primal chaos. I heard that they've already been exterminated. I wonder what kind of fortune this person obtained to be so powerful. A cultivator from a lower race dares to challenge the eternal heaven's road? He's just courting death. I heard that this person even dared to challenge the Heaven Yuan race and the Tensei people and killed countless cultivators from the 2 races. Now, he's preparing to challenge the eternal heaven's road. He's just a madman. At least this person has the courage to challenge the eternal heaven's road. Cultivators should be like this. Even if they die, they should die on the path to the peak. Countless experts were discussing this matter. Some people snorted at Su Fong's actions, while others mocked and ridiculed him and the human race. There were also many cultivators from ordinary races and factions who admired Su Fong. Bao Mother Tree also arrived outside Clear Sky Island and looked at Su Fong at the peak of the mountain. She gnashed her teeth. Hateful human brat, this time I'll see how you die with my own eyes. Many experts from the Tensei people, the Heaven Yuan race, and the 12 races looked at Su Fong and gnashed their teeth. They couldn't wait for Su Fong to die on the eternal heavens road. There were still more than 100 years before the eternal heavens road opened. So, a figure suddenly flew out from the crowd and headed straight for Clear Sky Island. Wah! Come! The experts from the 10,000 races were in an uproar. This person actually dared to set foot on Clear Sky Island. Was he tired of living and wanted to die? The old man's voice, filled with killing intent, came from the peak of the mountain. Those who trespass on Clear Sky Island will die. That person shouted loudly, Wait, I also want to challenge the eternal heavens road. When Su Fong heard this voice, he looked over and raised his eyebrows. His eyes shot out a sharp killing intent. Origin the cultivator who was about to challenge the eternal heavens road was none other than the 10 Directions God Master Evil Corpse. Unexpectedly. 1. Absolutely unexpected. 10. After God Lord Fong's evil corpse lost the battle with Su Fong, it was saved by the Qianyuan race's undying. Who would have thought that he would actually appear on Clear Sky Island at this time, and even attempt to challenge the eternal heavens road? Here comes another one who isn't afraid of death. Come here. The old man's lazy voice sounded. Thank you, my lord. The 10 Directions Divine Lord cupped his fists at the mountain peak, before slowly descending to the summit. Old He pointed at the rusty bell hanging from the roof of the cottage, and said to the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, Use your thoughts to ring the eternal sky bell. Only after obtaining the permission of the guardian of the eternal shrine will you be qualified to attempt the eternal heavenly path. Yes, sir. Divine Lord Fong stared at the bell, and his thoughts converged into 9 blood-colored divine suns that bombarded the bell. Dang dang dang. The bell that seemed to be mottled with rust actually emitted a dignified and sonorous sound that shot into the depths of the starry sky and shook the surroundings. Film a moment later. Oni majestic voice suddenly sounded from the summit. Who is it, and why is the eternal sky bell ringing? Divine Lord of 10 Directions, a cultivator of the Qianyuan race, wishes to challenge the eternal heavens road. My lord, please grant me permission. Divine Lord of 10 Directions said respectfully. Divine Lord of 10 Directions actually calls himself a cultivator of the Qianyuan race? Su Fong raised his eyebrows. He understood why Divine Lord of 10 Directions wanted to challenge the eternal heavens road this time. Then, the majestic voice sounded again. Permission granted. Thank you, my lord. Divine Lord Fong kowtowed in thank. The old man pointed at Su Fong's side and said, Sit there and wait. Yes. Divine Lord of 10 Directions obediently sat down cross-legged on Su Fong's right side. Su Fong, you never imagined that I would also challenge the eternal heavens road, did you? Divine Lord of 10 Directions' voice sounded in Su Fong's mind. Su Fong replied indifferently, Indeed, I didn't. I was just worrying about how to kill you in the Qianyuan race. I didn't expect you to come to Clear Sky Island of your own accord and prepare to die in the eternal heavens road. It seems that I don't have to waste my efforts to kill you. Although I haven't truly become an immortal, I have the strength of an immortal. It's not impossible for me to challenge the eternal heavens road. Divine Lord of 10 Directions revealed a sinister smile. Losing to you is the greatest humiliation of my life. This time, I will use the eternal heavens road to trample you under my feet. I was able to trample you under my feet last time. This time, it will be the same. You have already been surpassed by me, so you are destined to be under my feet forever. Is that so? As far as I know, your primordial heavenly treasures are limited in the eternal heavens road. Monsters like the heaven-swallowing insects and traveling spiders can't be used. However, my sky-burying god tablet is not restricted. With such an advantage, I will definitely be able to crush you. Divine Lord of 10 Directions looked as if victory was within his grasp. Clearly, the immortal of the Qianyuan race had told him a lot about the eternal heavens road before coming to Clear Sky Island. Su Fong was well aware of why the Qianyuan race had sent Divine Lord of 10 Directions. Regardless of whether Su Fong succeeded or failed, the Qianyuan race's reputation would be greatly affected. The Qianyuan race. The Yuan race wanted to use Divine Lord of 10 Directions to suppress Su Fong. Even if they failed, they would be able to redeem some of their reputation. Another Divine Lord of the Qianyuan race was extremely vicious. Divine Lord of 10 Directions. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions, Su Fong's mortal enemy, had come in order to incite Su Fong's hatred. At the same time, he would also put immense pressure on Su Fong. This would cause Su Fong's Tao heart to become unstable, and the chances of the eternal path of heavens failing would increase. Divine Lord of the Qianyuan race had schemed to such an extent just to suppress Su Fong. He was despicable and vicious to the extreme. The Qianyuan race is trying to use Divine Lord of 10 Directions to disturb my Tao heart. I have an immortal Tao heart and have reached the level of great indifference. How could I be affected by external forces? I'll use this opportunity to kill Divine Lord of 10 Directions and completely end this grudge. Su Fang snorted inwardly. His Tao heart returned to its tranquil state as he sat cross-legged on the mountain peak, waiting for the Eternal Heavens road to open. Divine Lord of 10 Directions was also going to attempt the Eternal Heavens road, causing a commotion among the cultivators. Since when did the Qianyuan race have such a powerful figure? The Qianyuan race has sent Divine Lord of 10 Directions to attempt the Eternal Heavens road. They are clearly targeting that human cultivator. There will be a good show to watch. Both of them are half-step immortal. I wonder who will win in the end? No matter who wins, they won't be able to complete the entire Eternal Heavens road. They will die in the end. The experts of the human race discussed fervently, speculating whether Su Fang or Divine Lord of 10 Directions would be able to walk further on the Eternal Heavens road. However, no one believed that the two of them would be able to complete the Eternal Heavens road. No one below the immortal realm could pass the Eternal Heavens road. This was a publicly acknowledged law that no one could break. The two of them were competing to see who could walk further on the Eternal Heavens road. Time elapsed. 100 years was just the blink of an eye for a cultivator at Su Fang's level. Eternal Heavens road open. A majestic voice that sounded like the heavenly Tao suddenly reverberated in the sky above Clear Sky Island. Boom, boom. Clear sky. The stars in the sky above the heavenly island started to move, moving to the sides, revealing a void passage that led to the endless depths of the sky. Tight. Following that, grains of star-like substance appeared in the starry sky and gathered together to form a vast river of starry sand. It was vast and mighty, extending from the sky above Clear Sky Island to the end of the horizon. At the end of the river of starry sand, one could vaguely see the outline of a golden palace. It was the eternal shrine that existed in the ethereal heavenly Tao. After the starry sand surged, a flight of stairs formed from the vast river of starry sand. There were a total of 3,000 steps, forming a heaven's road from Clear Sky Island to the eternal shrine. This is the Eternal Heavens road, Su Fang said. Fang looked at the heavens road, his eyes flashing with vigor, anticipation, and incomparable persistence. Su Fang already knew from his conversation with the elder guarding Clear Sky Island that each step was a spacetime. Also, it was not an ordinary spacetime, but a spacetime condensed from the Great Tao. This spacetime was a great Tao of cultivation. 3,000 steps represented 3,000 great Tao. To reach the peak, one had to shatter 3,000 spacetimes. The Eternal Heavens road not only tested one's strength, but also one's understanding and mastery of the Great Tao. Only by cultivating the Great Tao at the peak of the 3,000 Great Taos and mastering the true essence of the Great Tao would one have a glimmer of hope to shatter the spacetime of the 3,000 Great Taos, complete the Eternal Heavens road, and finally reach the Eternal Shrine. Su Fang, this seat will definitely step on your head this time, and set foot on that supreme peak. 10. God Lord Fang let out a long howl. He slowly flew into the vast river of starry sand and stepped onto the first step. Boom, boom, boom. From the outside, it looked like the starry sand was dancing wildly around God Lord 10 Directions, sweeping toward him with a terrifying might. 10. God Lord Fang let out maniacal laughter. In less than half an incense stick's worth of time, he shattered the surrounding starry sand and reappeared. Su Fang, what are you still hesitating for? This seat will go first and watch how you struggle and fall at the peak of the Eternal Heavens road. Ha ha! God Lord Fang's sinister laughter echoed. His body flashed, and he flew onto the second step. Su Fang looked up at the sky, his eyes unyielding. Above, in the sky, illusory figures were watching the Eternal Heavens road. They were the immortal realm experts of the Eternal Shrine. Su Fang did not take God Lord Ten Directions seriously at all. God Lord Ten Directions' provocation could not shake his Tao heart in the slightest. What he cared about were the immortal realm experts. He wanted to prove to the high and mighty immortal realm experts of the Eternal Shrine and the cultivators of the 10,000 races that the Tensei people and the Qianyuan race could not suppress him. Even the heavens could not suppress him. Qianyuan race, Tensei people, and the other 12 races, you want to suppress me with your power? This time, I will use the Eternal Heavens Road to tell you that, if the heavens want to suppress me, I will defy the heavens. Su Fang's body exuded a lofty and domineering aura, as well as an incomparable persistence and unyielding will. He soared into the sky with a heaven-defying momentum. How dare he provoke us so wantonly? In the sky, the figure formed by the consciousness of the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people sensed Su Fang's unyielding and unruliness and snorted coldly. It's just a wail before death. Why take it seriously? The Qianyuan race's immortal sneered disdainfully.